Chapter 1794. We're willing to submit to the Divine Lord of the Taichu sect. We'll sign a divine soul contract and pledge our loyalty to him. All the cultivators from other planets who witnessed this scene were shocked and terrified. They didn't have the courage to resist or run away anymore. They just knelt on the ground. They knew that resistance was futile. If they were loyal, they might still have a chance to survive. Not only them. Heavenly Star, Heavenly State, Xie, West Earth, and many other worlds in the solar system, countless people who witnessed this scene were also shocked by Jiang Tian's power. He had killed so many elites on the galaxy list and 4 pre-saints. The Divine Lord of the Big Dipper Divine Sect was like a dog that had lost its home. Such a powerful battle record was unprecedented. Not even the grand cultivators from the ancient deity land and earth 100,000 years ago had such a powerful battle record. His battle record is brilliant and his power is invincible. This means that Earth has won the ticket to the Star Ocean under the leadership of the Divine Lord of the Taichu sect. A glorious era of cultivation is about to begin. General Keynes held a press conference at the headquarters of the Earth Defense Coalition Army in the Black Eagle Federation to make the final note of this battle. Countless people were excited and invigorated. At this moment, the Black Eagle Federation, Japan, Sidoni, and even ordinary people were also excited and cheered for Jiang Tian's victory. Many people spontaneously held celebrations and gathered under Jiang Tian's bronze statue. Jiang Tian didn't just represent the Tianqing school or the cultivators of Wuxia. He was also the leader of the Myth Alliance. He represented the cultivation civilization of the solar system and the South Gate planet region. His rise would lead to the rise of the entire solar system and the South Gate planet region. Once such a person appeared, his power would spread and his name would spread far and wide. The Beidou planet region and other planet regions wouldn't dare to act recklessly. He defeated the entire Beidou sect army by himself. Countless cultivators exclaimed. The cultivators from other dimensions, including Lotus Lord, Ding Lai, Lucifer, Yi Xiaoman, and Hui Yen, were all shocked when they saw this through their Dharma artifacts. Who would have thought that Jiang Tian would obtain such a terrifying opportunity in the ruins of immortality? He had only spent 5 years in the ruins of immortality. Over the past 5 years, the sun and the moon had changed, the stars had moved, and time had passed. The earth had undergone great changes. The recovery of spirit qi had already produced many talents, but Jiang Tian had gone further and higher. They did not have the courage to chase after him and could only look up to him. On the other hand, the capitulators, defeatists, and pathfinders on Earth looked as if they had lost their parents. In fact, apart from some idiots, there were also some old enemies of Jiang Tian. For example, Mitsui and the other Japanese tycoons, the Morgan family and the other giants of the Black Hawk Federation. Jiang Tian had once deprived him and attacked him. When the outer realms descended, they naturally stood opposite to Jiang Tian. They hugged the outer realm's thighs and became the representatives of their worldly wealth. For example, Old Morgan once again followed the superbrain race in the outer realm and became a believer of the Golden Temple. When Jiang Tian fought with the Big Dipper cultivators, most of the comments that were pessimistic about Jiang Tian were led by them. I never expected him to be so strong. He's still so strong. Old Morgan's face was ashen. He sighed and found a shotgun. He stabbed the muzzle of the gun into his mouth and pulled the trigger. The bullets hit his skull, and red and white things splattered all over the ground. There were many people who chose to commit suicide like Old Morgan. In fact, in Jiang Tian's eyes, these secular people were like ants. Jiang Tian did not pay attention to them at all. He was like a true dragon roaming the 9 heavens. Why would he care about the thoughts and actions of the mayflies under his feet? However, the problem was that Jiang Tian had many believers. The Tianqing school and the Myth Alliance were even more powerful. Jiang Tian ignored them, but the Myth Alliance would deal with them. At that time, they would be judged and die in endless humiliation and pain. It would be better to just commit suicide. It's time to give the Divine Lord of the Taichu a title. Hold a grand ceremony that will attract the attention of many cultivation worlds on Earth, the solar system, and even the neighboring South Gate star zone and the extraterrestrial galaxies. Let's crown the divine lord of the Taichu. We'll announce the rise of Earth to the universe and return to the peak of the ancient times. Old Lord Lianxing walked to Jiang Changing and asked respectfully. His suggestion instantly received the unanimous approval of the higher-ups of Tianqing School, including Jiang Changing. Then, through various media, the news spread all over the world. Everyone from 80-year-old women to 3-year-old children knew about it. Immediately, Earth was in an uproar. The 5 years of the recovery of spirit qi were 5 years of bravery and improvement, but also 5 years of disasters. Demons wreaked havoc on the earth, the Big Dipper arrived, and the flames of war continued. People were in a terrible situation and were fooled and bullied endlessly. Now they had finally regained control and wiped out the evil. They should indeed hold an incomparably grand ceremony to crown Jiang Tian and celebrate at the same time. Jiang Beibei was running all over the sect, shouting loudly, "My dad won, my mom won. We've beaten the bad guys away." At the same time, on the extraterrestrial battlefield, Jiang Tian's sword had already been sheathed, so there was no need to kill anymore. He glanced at the remaining few thousand cultivators and said softly, "Since you've pledged your loyalty to me and I'm not a cruel person, I'll make a divine soul contract with you and guard this place well." Then, the golden lake in Jiang Tian's forehead rippled and the divine soul of the demon god of hell came out. It instantly split into 2, 2, 4, and 8. In the blink of an eye, there were thousands of them, invading their minds and making a divine soul contract. Then, Jiang Tian ignored them and stepped into the void. In the blink of an eye, he arrived on the unsetting sun. Just as Jiang Tian was fighting with the four sage-to-be, Zhao Xueqing also led the unsetting sun, many corpse generals, and the Black Jade Kylan to a fierce battle with the Big Dipper prodigies. It was a fierce battle. Even though Zhao Xueqing was a deity semi-god realm cultivator, she was still weak. On the other hand, the prodigies on the Star River list were peak divine semi-god realm cultivators. Each of them was as powerful as Zhao Xueqing. Just now, many prodigies had joined forces to besiege Zhao Xueqing. Now, the battleship was full of sword marks and more than half of it had been destroyed. The corpse generals on it were almost completely wiped out. Even the Black Jade Kylan was severely injured. Many of its scales had fallen off and it was covered in blood. "Qing, it's been hard on you." Jiang Tian saw that Zhao Xueqing's armor had been destroyed and her divine body was covered in wounds. Her black hair was stained with blood and stuck to the corners of her mouth, but her eyes were still so gentle and determined. He could not help but feel pity for her. This Zhao Xueqing was just a clone of his original body. When Jiang Tian had used the creation substance and the 5 elements quasi-immortal material to create this clone, his purpose was to let her replace his original body and be taken away by his previous life's teacher, the undying monarch. No matter how good Jiang Tian's foundation was, his cultivation was limited. The gap between him and his teacher, who was a 9 heavens Xian immortal, was still too big. Ever since this clone was created, Jiang Tian had been estranged from her. In Jiang Tian's heart, she was just a tool to confuse the undying monarch. But today, seeing Zhao Xueqing fighting so valiantly and her love for him and her child, he felt a trace of reluctance and guilt. She did not know that she was a clone and had a completely independent consciousness. Was it fair for him to cruelly decide her fate? It's not hard. For our child, for Earth, it's worth dying. Zhao Xueqing sensed Jiang Tian's love and concern. Crystal tears rolled down her cheeks like broken pearls, and she was about to throw herself into Jiang Tian's arms. At this moment, however, the large black dog was one step ahead of her. He leaped into Jiang Tian's arms and howled with tears and snot running down his face. "My lord, Little Black was so worried about you just now. I also fought bravely and fearlessly against the enemy. I was afraid that they would invade Earth. You have to reward me at least half a kilogram of spirit pills." Jiang Tian was speechless. This evil dog, did you think that my divine sense did not detect anything when I was fighting the 4 sage-to-be? When the geniuses of the previous generation brought by Qin Pu began to attack Earth, you just abandoned Zhao Xueqing and the Black Jade Qilin and ran at least 10,000 miles away, okay? You didn't lose a single hair, and you call that fighting bravely and fearlessly? Shameless. Chapter 1795. You can rest now. The black jade Kylin covered its face with its hands, feeling embarrassed for the purple gold true dragon. She didn't understand why the purple gold true dragon had such a pure and noble bloodline. Besides, he had reached the nascent soul realm and could transform into a human at will, but he chose such a wretched appearance like a large black dog. Now she understood. The large black dog was afraid of death. How could there be such a cowardly divine beast in the world? It was a disgrace to all divine beasts. Do you still want to eat spirit pills? You're so fat. I'll kill you to nourish your mistress' body. Jiang Tian pushed the large black dog away and said with a half-smile, I'm so skinny and I don't have much flesh on my body. You still want to kill me? I don't want to eat spirit pills. You can give them to little Momo. The large black dog was so scared that its hair stood on end and it rushed towards Earth. Let Jiang Beibei ride the large horse a few times. When master wants to eat me one day, your daughter will fight you to the death. Humph, Kong Teichu, although you're strong, you're just a henpecked son of your daughter. Are you more scheming than me? Let master give me spirit pills? He's so kind. Is he interested in me? The black jade Kylin suddenly blushed and suddenly realized something. Its scales stood up and it roared as it chased after the large black dog. Don't go, large black dog. What are you thinking? Tell this great aunt clearly. When Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing returned to the central hall of Tianqing School, their family and friends all came and greeted them. Zhang Wanqing hugged Qing'er and cried, saying that if Qing'er died, she wouldn't live either. This battle lasted less than 10 days, but it was extremely dangerous and tragic, far more than any other battle in the history of Earth. Jiang Beibei threw herself into Jiang Tian's arms and called him a hero in her childish voice. Truth be told, Jiang Tian had used the consummate heaven sword on multiple occasions to slaughter chosen and slaughter great sages, and had consumed a significant amount of energy. In fact, it had even caused his cultivation base to drop, leaving him incredibly weak. But at this moment, as he held his daughter's delicate body, he suddenly felt that all his efforts and risks were worth it. After chatting for a while, Jiang Tian brought up the plan to hold the Divine Lord Grand Ceremony and asked Jiang Tian to make the decision. Right now, it's feasible. Jiang Tian nodded. If the immortal entrapment formation created by the ancient virtuous sages was a strategic ambush, then Jiang Tian's strategy was a strategic deterrence. The Big Dipper star zone was 120 light-years away from Earth. However, there were many cultivation star zones just 10 light-years away. These were also threats to Earth. According to the time in his previous life, Master would descend to Earth in a few months and take him away. However, Jiang Tian already understood that the person he really wanted to take away was Zhao Xueqing, who had the pure phoenix immortal body. Whether or not it would take him away was also an unknown. Even if the immortal emperor didn't take him away, he would go straight to the star ocean to find an opportunity to become a deity. In fact, his real advantage wasn't in the Milky Way, but in the central galaxy. He had cultivated and lived in the central galaxy for thousands of years in his previous life, so he almost knew everything about it. After he entered the deity realm in 9 heavens, he even knew the central galaxy like the back of his hand. Over there, he was clearly aware of the branches of immortal and divine materials, the birth and rise of geniuses, and even the secrets of the immortal Holy Land's peerless divine sex history. He had the advantage of foresight, so his cultivation speed would be even smoother and faster than it was now. The Milky Way was relatively unfamiliar to him. It was like a remote village. He had already entered a bustling city. Why would he take a second look at it? Once he and Zhao Xueqing left or were taken away, there would be no more soul formation cultivators on Earth, at least not in a short period of time. So, it was necessary to let those cultivation civilizations in other planets know about the existence of Kong Teichu and that there were 2 super-strengthened deities on Earth. The valiant results of today's battle would shock the entire starry sky. At least, no other cultivation civilizations would dare to invade Earth in a short period of time. In the end, the Divine Lord coronation was set for 2 months later. Those 2 months were for the cultivators from other planets to arrive and for Earth to prepare for the ceremony. The Olympic Games and the World Cup took 7 to 8 years. The Divine Lord coronation ceremony, the grandest event on Earth, was already too rushed to prepare for it in half a year, let alone 2 months. And yet, Jiang Tian couldn't wait any longer. He wanted Zhao Xueqing's clone to enjoy the last bit of glory and peace. In fact, Jiang Tian's battle had indeed affected the Star Ocean. The battle in front of Earth's gate had ended, but the aftermath of the battle had just begun. When the 4 half-saints arrived on Earth, their Dharma power surged and shook the Star Ocean. The Orion arm of the Milky Way, especially the sects near the Beidou, the Solar System and the South Gate Planet region, were paying close attention to the outcome of the battle. The Solar System, the Beidou and the South Gate Planet region are all located in the Orion arm of the Milky Way. It's a small arm between 2 other spiral arms. The cultivation civilizations in the Milky Way called this area the Little Tianan Planet region, or the Little Tianan Hong Planet region. The Little Tianan Planet region was extremely vast, with countless planets and planet regions. There were even a few hundred thriving cultivation planet regions like the Beidou, which were the most powerful in the world. Even though the Little Tianan Planet region and the entire Milky Way were just a barren area on the edge for the sacred grounds and the top families deep inside the central galaxy, it was too small to raise a true dragon. However, for the creatures living in the Little South Heavenly Realm, it was an extremely vast and magnificent world that they couldn't travel all over in their lifetime. Some nascent soul cultivators had once tried to fly across the entire planet region with their Dharma power alone without using teleport arrays. In the end, they passed through 8 star systems like the South Gate Planet region and the Solar System, then died after running out of life. Even with the teleport arrays, the Little South Heavenly Realm was still too big. It should be noted that the ancient sages of Earth and the ancient deity ground were extremely resourceful. They used planets and continents as arrays, consumed countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures, and worked hard for tens of thousands of years, but they only reached the neighboring South Gate galaxy, which was only 422 light-years away from Earth. The overlord of the Wood Spirit planet and the alien races from the Palace of the Ruins of Deity went on an expedition to the Star Ocean, facing the disaster of the chaotic planets. However, only the Heavenly Shepherd Divine General arrived in the Solar System after thousands of years. The others had almost all died in the lonely Star Ocean. The Beidou Planet region was the most powerful planet region in the Little South Heavenly Realm. Its cavalry swept across the planets and was invincible. Its endless army was invincible in the Star Ocean. The other cultivation planet regions were like mice in front of a cat. Every move of the half-saints like Qin Pu, who were called the ancestral patriarchs of the Beidou planet region, certainly attracted the attention of the other cultivation planet regions. Even though the soul formation grand cultivators in those planet regions weren't as powerful as Qin Pu and the other half-saints, who could easily observe everything around Earth through the endless Star Ocean, these cultivators certainly had their own means of observing the universe. They knew the result almost as soon as the battle outside Earth ended. Some peak-stage soul formation cultivators activated the message arrays with their top Dharma power and sent the news of the battle to the other planets. Those message arrays were only set up a few years ago. There was a tall tower every few planets. In this tower, there were soul formation cultivators overseeing and observing the situation. They were responsible for activating the sound transmission spell formation and spreading the news in all directions. Soon, the news was spread across the Little South Heavenly Realm and even beyond the region, to the depths of the universe. In a blink, the entire Milky Way and the Little South Heavenly Realm were in an uproar. The allied army of the Beidou Divine sect was destroyed by Jiang Tian. Han Ming, the sect master of the Beihan sect, died and Qin Yu, Gui Yufan and the other elites on the Star River were killed. If the news was said to have surprised everyone, then what came next was fear and shock. Qin Pu, a half-saint ancestral patriarch with the divine power of all-knowing, showed up and teamed up with Elder Qin Huang, Fairy Furong and Fu Zonghai, but they were all killed by Divine Lord Jiang in front of Earth? That's impossible. Almost everyone was shocked when they heard the news. Chapter 1796. Ever since planet destruction arrived, I've ordered all of you to send Dharma artifacts to the solar system. You even said I was doing something unnecessary, but now it seems that it's necessary. On a planet with life next to the Ophiuchus star, which was 5.9 light-years away from Earth, a serpent that was thousands of feet long stood on its hind legs. Its cold and evil golden vertical pupils were fixed in the direction of the solid sphere, and it said with endless shock and horror, "What?" It said with horror, "Kong Techu is really terrifying." She stirred her tail gently and easily destroyed mountains. She had already reached the soul formation level, only a bit weaker than Qin Pu. Countless great demons around her flew up and down, all looking in the direction of Earth, supporting her as if she was the legendary snake goddess Medusa. A scroll that was 10,000 feet long appeared in the sky. It clearly showed the scene outside Earth, including the battle between Jiang Tian and Han Ming, as well as Qin Pu working with the other 3 half-saints to attack Jiang Tian. Ancestral patriarch, she is wise. Countless years ago, a supreme grand cultivator put a deity's body on the 3rd planet of the South Gate. 100,000 years ago, the deity's body on the 3rd planet of the South Gate woke up and exploded for the first time. 100,000 years ago, planet destruction arrived on ancient Earth. Emperor Sheng, Zhongli, Ao Huang and the others drove the deity ground and other planets to wander around the South Gate galaxy. However, the ruins Emperor, Zhu Tian, Song Ming and the Master of the Academy seized the opportunity to take over. Until today, the spirit Qi on ancient Earth recovered and Kong Techu regained power. The South Gate and the solar system have been really lively in recent years. But who would have thought that none of this could escape the ancestral patriarch's observation? A flattering voice was heard. It was ancestral patriarch Xi's favorite son, named Xingning, who was already a mid-stage soul formation cultivator. That's because the Ophiuchus star was also put into the body of an ancient fiend god and cleaned by a magnificent array set up by a grand cultivator. The endless pure spirit Qi was extracted and sent to Earth to nourish planet destruction. Such a plan that uses the stars as chess pieces and the galaxy as the map is too terrifying. Old ancestor Xi lowered his head slightly as a trace of confusion and fear flashed through his vertical pupils. It's just that I didn't expect such an earth-shattering figure like Kong Techu to appear on Earth. He reversed the fate of a declining planet and even killed Qin Pu and other half-saints. It's really terrifying. However, when I think about the arrangements of the ancient Almighty, I really don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. Ancestor, this Kong Techu is so strong, what should we do? As the saying goes, befriend those far away and attack those near. He has already pushed back the Big Dipper constellation and is so close to us. Will he make a move on Ophiuchus constellation? How can I allow others to sleep beside my bed? Xingning frowned and said worriedly. Even Qin Pu is no match for him. What can we do? I'm just glad that although we've been observing closely all these years, at least we didn't invade the solar system. There's still the possibility of forming an alliance. Elder, she sighed softly, with endless sorrow and a trace of fear. Forming an alliance? Ancestor, what do you mean? Xingning was confused. Kong Techu is a man with great talent and vision. He's also very broad-minded and isn't inferior to the sages of the ancient immortal ground. He even made a great declaration that the monsters and humans should be of the same mind. The Ophiuchus constellation is full of monsters and we've been isolated and bullied by the humans in the little Tianan galaxy. Now that there is such a supreme God overseeing Earth and opening the door wide, how can we not take the opportunity to hug his thigh and befriend him? With a shake of her body, Madam, she turned into a charming woman dressed in palace attire. If it wasn't for the fact that her vertical pupils hadn't changed, she would have looked like a human. She flung her sleeves and said, "We will prepare a generous gift and head to Earth to participate in this grand event. We will congratulate Taoist Grand Chu on his ascension to the position of divine monarch." Not only ancestral patriarch Xi and Xingning. In Fomalhaut, 25 light-years away from the solar system, on a planet of life that was 10 times vaster than Earth before the revival of spiritual energy, An old half-saint who looked extremely old but whose power was deep and half of his deity was entrusted to the void stood up and laughed aloud. I didn't expect that Qin Pu would suffer such a great loss. He deserves it. He didn't take the universe seriously just because he had so many half-saints and so many talents. Now he's in trouble. Saint Anpo was gloating. The more he thought about it, the happier he became. He gathered the elites in the Fomalhaut star region and flicked his sleeves. He waved his hand and grabbed a space shuttle. He stepped on it and announced, "We'll prepare a generous gift and go to the solar system to show our utmost respect to Tai Chu Divine Lord on Earth." The Beidou star region had been fighting in the star ocean for hundreds of thousands of years, killing and robbing everywhere. They had dyed the universe with blood and billions of lives were lost. They had colonized other planets and were extremely powerful. The cultivators of many star fields both feared and hated them. However, between these two emotions, hatred occupied more of the majority. However, those star regions that had been colonized and oppressed didn't have the strength to resist, so they could only hide their hatred and unwillingness in their hearts. However, Jiang Tian's brilliant record of killing the 4 half-saints gave them a glimmer of hope. A glimmer of hope to break free from the Beidou star region and regain freedom and development. How could they not be excited and unhappy? Not only the Ophiuchus star region, the Fomalhaut star region, the Ancient Rock star region, the Dark Mist star region and the Tianlang star region. Soon, all the planets and star regions in the Little Tianan star region received the news. Shock, confusion, joy and gloating, all kinds of complicated emotions appeared in the hearts of countless cultivators. Many ancestral patriarchs even ordered that they couldn't set foot in the solar system and the South Gate star region easily. They couldn't covet or disrespect Jiang Tian and his forces. Otherwise, they would be expelled forever and grand cultivators would be sent to the netherworld to hunt them down. In a blink, the solar system and the South Gate star region, which were like small puddles in the eyes of the cultivators from the star ocean, instantly became dangerous and even forbidden places. Jiang Tian's name was the first to cause a sensation in the star regions. The Beidou star region was also shocked and astonished. Jiang Tian's power was beyond their imagination. Many cultivators of the Beidou star region couldn't imagine how a cultivator from the remote solar system could defeat the coalition forces of the Beihan sect and the other 3 divine sects led by Han Ming. He could even destroy a planetary city in space and kill Qin Pu and the other 3 half-saints, who had been traveling in the star ocean for 50,000 years and hadn't returned. Those half-saints were the most powerful overlords below the saints. And it was said that Earth had only recovered its spirit chi 5 years ago. It had started to wither 100,000 years ago and there weren't many nascent soul cultivators left. That's impossible. Let's not talk about whether this record is true or not. What we can confirm is that Earth has been in decline for 100,000 years and its spirit chi has dried up. It was a heaven and earth cage without any cultivation resources. In the entire Beidou star region and the 7 galaxies, the fastest cultivator is the deity-grade nascent soul cultivator who was born 200,000 years ago. However, it was said that even that person had to spend 200 years of hard work to reach the nascent soul stage. He's only a few decades old. How could he reach the nascent soul level? This is simply a myth. Someone sneered and shook his head. This nascent soul cultivator who's not even 50 years old defeated hundreds of thousands of soldiers alone and killed 2 half-saints in a row. Haha, the solar system has been in decline for a long time. It used to be suppressed by the deity trap array and even the foundation establishment level was difficult. How could there be a cultivator who killed 2 half-saints in a row? He must be bluffing. Others also had doubts. Chapter 1797. Many Beidou cultivators were confused. The top divine sects like the Beihan sect, the exiled deity hall, the Wuji sect and the Feiyang sect remained tight-lipped about the battle. Outsiders didn't know what exactly happened. They only heard from Han Xing, Luo Chen and the other cultivators who had escaped from the battlefield at Earth's Gate. And yet, the Jiang Tian they were talking about was too unbelievable. Something about having a divine disc behind his back, being able to control many immortal grade or even higher laws of nature, slicing through holy weapons with a single sword strike, piercing through planetary cities in space with a single cauldron strike, having many clones, creating a spatial storm with a single sword strike. Such an overlord was comparable to the legendary void-returning saints, but he was only a nascent soul cultivator. It was unbelievable and illogical. Such a nascent soul cultivator could only be a deity-grade nascent soul cultivator, or even a higher one, which could only be born in the central galaxy. How could he be born in the entire Milky Way, not to mention the solar system? It was like a true dragon couldn't be born in shallow water and a divine phoenix couldn't be born in a forest. Cultivators originally followed the Tao of nature or seized the fortune of the heavens and the earth. The heavens and the earth were exceedingly narrow, so how could it possibly give birth to such a heaven-defying genius? A nascent soul cultivator less than 50 years old defeated the allied army of the divine sex and killed Han Ming and the other elites on the Star River Roll. I've heard some rumors that Kong Teichu had indeed killed many soul formation cultivators in the Southgate planet system. Some senior members of the divine sex speculated that he might be the reincarnation of a grand cultivator. But what about killing 4 pre-saints? That's bullshit. Divine Lord Tianluan, a well-respected old divine lord in the Mizang planet region, commented calmly. But, Senior Tianluan, Han Sheng and Luo Chen have sent a message back. They said it's true. Below the stairs, some disciples and juniors asked in confusion. Before Divine Lord Tianluan said anything, someone next to her snickered. Han Ming, Guiyufan and Qin Yu all died there. Don't these cultivators who escaped alive want to absolve themselves of blame for their actions? Many galaxy roll prodigies opened up new territories for the Big Dipper starfield. They fought for millions of miles in the starry sky and did not retreat a single step. They had actually become deserters, and had been scared away by a mere native of the wilderness. That's so embarrassing. How could they not fabricate an invincible opponent to hide their cowardice and incompetence? Many people nodded in approval of this statement. Just you wait. The 4 strongest divine sects were not incompetent, and they had never suffered such a huge loss before. That Kong Teichu will definitely suffer revenge 10 times crueler than before. Someone gloated. However, after waiting for a few days, the 4 most powerful holy sects in the Kaiyang Star region and the Alcade Star region, including the freezing North sect, which had suffered great losses in the solar system, still hadn't sent out any orders to attack Earth again. Instead, there was an order from the higher-ups to march to the other side of the little heavenly south starfield. This confused many people. Could the rumors about Kong Teichu be true? During this period, the entire Little Tianan starfield was in an uproar because of Jiang Tian's battle. Some people were happy, some were shocked, some were scared, some were confused, and some were disdainful. But no one dared to ignore Jiang Tian. Many cultivators ranked him first on the Star River Roll or third on the Star Region Roll of the Little Tianan starfield. He was one of the most powerful cultivators below the Void Return Saints. On Earth. Time flew. A month had passed since the Battle of Saints. The Divine Lord coronation ceremony was just around the corner. During this time, many tycoons, sects, families and mystic realms on Earth were willing to give up everything they had to please Jiang Tian. Land, buildings, materials, funds and procedures were all easily given. Sidoni and many other superpowers around the world gave the green light. The king of Sidoni, Arthur, even rolled up his sleeves and went to the Tianqing School Training Hall in person. He wore a safety helmet and looked like a contractor. By then, the entire Sidoni had become a hot land for construction. An unprecedentedly large project was about to begin. Not only on Earth. Lucifer, Yi and Yi Xiaoman from Heavenly State, Tang Linglong, Tathagata Luomei and Elder Huan from West Earth, Ding Lai, Ding Lingdang, Miao Yi Fairy and Jiang Yunhe from Star World, the realm lord of the Chia world led cultivators above the Golden Core level to Earth on space battleships. Those worlds had also received endless nourishment after the recovery of spirit Qi and had become floating continents. They were like new planets, which made the solar system even more lively. Many cultivators offered up huge amounts of cultivation resources with both hands. Some of the nascent soul stage grandmasters even offered up celestial mountains and pavilions. These celestial mountains and pavilions were all refined with special Dharma powers. They were extremely beautiful, and each one of them shone with a myriad of lights. In the end, Zhang Chenjian went to the Sea of Stars and led the experts of refining to repair a magnificent space city that had been beaten to the point that it had lost its power, transforming it into the absolute beginning pavilion. It floated above the training field of the Tianqing sect and emitted a gentle glow like a full moon, becoming the most important and central location of the entire Tianqing sect. Jiang Tian wasn't in a hurry to cultivate. He used countless souls to nourish Yi Tianren's remnant soul and used the remaining materials to rebuild his body. Yi Tianren was successfully resurrected and his power even increased a bit. He stepped into the nascent soul level, which also proved Jiang Tian's idea of recreating the 6 paths of reincarnation. Yi Karen was in tears. Every day, there were disciples and friends who came to greet him. Jiang Tian did not reject anyone who came, and also casually gave them pointers on their cultivation. That might be the last time he would stay on Earth. This time, he might only come back to solve the problem of the deity corpse on the 3rd planet of the South Gate when he entered the soul formation level 20 or 30 years later. So, he cherished every second he spent with his family, friends, and disciples. Master, I came out of seclusion after cultivating the fire deity body and entering the nascent soul level. You only asked for the golden core level back then. Tang Linglong bowed, then looked up and said with a hint of stubbornness. She was almost 30 years old now. Her childishness was gone, and she had a more mature charm than before. I should have let you cultivate to the soul formation level before coming out of seclusion. Jiang Tian laughed heartily. As their cultivation deepened and they understood the Dharma laws of heaven and earth, a cultivator's mentality would also become more detached. Their desire to live longer and jump to the next level of life would become stronger and they would see love more clearly. When he imprisoned Tang Linglong in the Fenshan Valley of the Fire Worship sect, he actually had that thought in mind. His plan seemed to be good at the moment. Tang Linglong's infatuated thoughts had long faded away. No way, Tang Linglong was shocked. Alright, go and see your family. Jiang Tian waved his hand with a smile. You have a long way to go to guard the West Earth in the future. You saw the Big Dipper invasion this time. You should know the gap between you and them, right? Jiang Tian was also happy and gratified as he watched his disciples' cultivation level increase rapidly. Now, the several dimensions had become branches of the Tianqing school again, with each planet as the helm. Only then did they have the style of a large sect in the universe. One day, Jiang Tian suddenly asked, "Where's Huang Linger? Where did she go? I've been back for so long, but she didn't show up. Is she so hardworking?" He had wanted to give the core of the primordial tree to Huang Linger after getting it. However, he had always been introverted and adhered to the old dogma of monogamy. Even if he had some affection for Huang Linger, with Zhao Xueqing's clone and his daughter around, he wouldn't show it at all. He really couldn't hold it in today. Everyone was puzzled because they hadn't seen Huang Linger in a long time. Jiang Changing hurriedly dismissed his subordinates. Only he, Lotus Old Rulai, and Zhao Xueqing were left in the hall. Lotus Old Rulai sighed slightly and said, "Half a month after Mistress went to the ruins of immortality, Huang Linger and I were patrolling the Martian territory when she was taken away by a woman passing by." What? Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes slightly, and a cold light flickered. Chapter 1798. Everyone knew that Huang Linger had a special relationship with Jiang Tian, and she was his disciple. Anyone who touched Huang Linger was no different from attacking Tianqing school. During that time, although Han Ming coveted Earth, he was still at the stage of conciliation. How could he kidnap Huang Linger? Zhao Xueqing also frowned and scolded, "Why didn't you report such a big thing to Jiang Tian?" She remembered that when she and Jiang Tian returned, a great war was about to break out. She softened her tone and said, "Silly. Even if you were worried about disturbing Jiang Tian's Taoist heart, you could not tell me. That woman was wearing an ancient robe and communicated with me through divine sense. She didn't know Earth's language. She said she was Lian Huahun, the saintess of the Luoying sect. She liked Huang Linger's wood spirit root at first sight. She was the soul formation seed that their sect dreamed of. Lotus Rulai bowed and said, "You just let her take Huang Linger away." Jiang Tian snorted, and the temperature in the central main hall suddenly dropped. The big black dog, who was sunbathing and eating spicy sticks with the black jade Kylan in the pool outside the door, shivered in fear. He quickly stood up and said, "Let's go. Master is angry. He might kill me. After all, I haven't succeeded in losing weight yet." "Sect Master, please don't be angry." Lotus Rulai was so scared that he knelt on the ground. Jiang Chang'ing also smiled bitterly. "At that time, Lotus Rulai communicated with me through a cosmic communication Dharma artifact. We couldn't do anything. At that time, you had been in the Star Ocean for 2 years and there was no news from you." Qing'er also followed him on the unsetting sun. That was when the Beidou demon clan was causing chaos on Earth. We didn't dare to make too many enemies. And I stopped him. But I was sent flying with a single finger. At that time, I was already a nascent soul cultivator. Now that I think about it, that Saintess Lian Huahun should be at the soul formation realm. Lotus Rulai said bitterly. Hearing this, Zhao Xueqing was shocked. Soul formation realm? From the Saint Origin world? Could she be a Big Dipper cultivator? Could it be that Saint Origin world is one of the Big Dipper stars? But don't worry, I can find them. Jiang Tian shook his head slowly. His eyes flickered as he pinched the armrest of the chair and sighed in his heart. Saint Origin continent was the first continent that Jiang Tian had visited with his master, the Undying Sovereign, in his previous life. It was located at the edge of the central galaxy. As for the Luoying sect, it was one of the top 5 great sects in the Saint Origin world. That's good. Once the ceremony is over, we will go to Saint Origin world and ask for Ling back. Zhao Xueqing said with determination. Forget it. Since he's a disciple, there shouldn't be any problems for the time being. Don't worry about it. Jiang Tian frowned, but in the end he relaxed and said. He had a vague guess in his heart. That Lian Huahun must have taken a fancy to Huang Linger's physique. Huang Linger's wood spirit physique was extremely rare. After years of cultivation under Jiang Tian's guidance, it was infinitely close to an immortal physique and incomparably close to the power of plants. Moreover, she had already stepped into the nascent soul realm at such a young age. It could be said that her future was limitless. A soul formation seed like her would be well protected. Moreover, the Luoying sect was originally very strong. He had also heard of Lian Huahun in his previous life. She wasn't an evil person and had a good reputation. Moreover, according to Jiang Tian's plan, the first place he would go after entering the Star Ocean was Saint Origin world. Because according to the time, in 10 years, Saint Origin world would have an item that could be called a divine material, which would be very beneficial to his cultivation. In his previous life, Jiang Tian was casually taught a cultivation method by the immortal sovereign and left in Saint Origin world. Jiang Tian had cultivated in Saint Origin world for 100 years before he stepped into the Foundation establishment realm. When that treasure was born, he was a pitiful little chi refinement cultivator. He didn't even have the chance to take a look at it, so naturally he missed it. But this time, he was already a divine nascent soul cultivator. In that world, he could already be called a giant and could even step into the soul formation realm. How could he miss it? He had the foresight and had the initiative. Who could compete with Jiang Tian? Time flew. The day of Jiang Tian's Divine Lord coronation ceremony was getting closer and closer. On this day, a deep space satellite and Dharma artifacts jointly captured a meteor in the sky that was speeding toward Earth. For a moment, the public was in an uproar. The entire Earth was in a panic. Did the enemy of the Beidou family come again? Then, a detailed image was sent. The so-called meteor turned out to be a 100-mile space battleship. There were many soul formation cultivators on it, and they looked extraordinary. There were nascent soul cultivators around the battleship from time to time, walking in space to replenish arrays. Those cultivators looked ferocious and terrifying. Not only were there humans, but there were also terrifying monsters. For example, Two divine bats were eating people every day and were dripping with blood. Cain's even called Jiang Tian. Guild Master, there's a civilization from another planet heading to Earth, and they're quite powerful. What should we do? Should we let the captives of the Beidou family stop them? What if they betray us at the last moment? Cain's was also panicking. That battleship was a peak-stage Dharma artifact, which could withstand standard controllable cluster nuclear weapons and large Kuelian attacks. Only a soul formation overlord like Jiang Tian could stop it. Don't worry. Open the gate of Earth and let them in. Jiang Tian only said one sentence and then hung up the phone. Cain's was in a panic. What did the Taichu Divine Lord mean? After all, Jiang Tian's bottom line was to leave the battlefield outside Earth. Even if the Dharma laws on Earth were strengthened, the attacks of soul formation grand cultivators were still terrifying. One attack could destroy 1,000 miles and kill all living beings. When he was about to call again, Jiang Changing had already called. Cain's was relieved after hearing that. He also ordered the troops from other planets not to disturb them and let them pass. Without the army to stop them, the battleship went straight into the atmosphere and flew towards Sidoni's Tianqing school. Then, more starry sky battleships entered, following behind them in a mighty manner. Countless people looked up in panic and focused their gazes on the ships that were about 100 miles long and looked like small mountains. Swish, swish. The first battleship flashed across the sky and a terrifying energy descended from the sky. Many soul formation cultivators and nascent soul cultivators stood on it. Yun Zhongzi looked down and said with a smile, "Is this the legendary mortal world? The spirit chi and dharma laws are as good as those in the deity ground. Looks like the rumors about the great opportunities on Earth are true." In the era of the ancient heavenly court, the deity ground and Earth were both planets in the solar system, but the spirit chi in the deity ground was more abundant. Deities and sages were everywhere, while Earth was much weaker. So, the deity ground was the deity realm in the ancient times and Earth was the mortal world. There was a clear difference between them. Only the most talented cultivators on Earth had the chance to enter the deity ground. And yet, the spirit chi on Earth was apparently several times more abundant than in the ruins of deity. Yun Zhongzi knew that was the result of the deity corpses buried on the third planet of the South Gate and the universe array continuously nourishing Earth and planet destruction. Fu Heishui and Fu Heishui opened their eyes wide and mumbled, "I wonder if they can find us divine bats and solve the problem of being single and having children." This is the home planet of the Taichu Divine Lord. There are many tall buildings and fortresses. It's extremely prosperous and lively. We'll be able to see the Taichu Divine Lord soon. I'm so excited. Ao Jiao, Qi Liqui, Long Shengnan by Mu Xue, and the other girls widened their eyes and curiously observed the area below. They couldn't stop chattering with excitement on their faces. Niu Dun, the Divine Ox General, said calmly, "We're almost there." "Ah, we're too late." The Green Dragon King mocked himself and said in awe, "I thought we'd be able to make it here and fight alongside the Heavenly Emperor by modifying the battleships according to the cultivation art left by the Heavenly Emperor. I didn't think the Heavenly Emperor of the Taichu Divine Lord had already killed the Big Dipper warriors." Chapter 1799. This is my live broadcast, a live report for you. The battleship you're looking at is a Tao artifact. There are at least 8 soul formation grand cultivators and a few hundred nascent soul cultivators on it. The media was really anxious. The reporters stationed in Saroni all reported. The female streamer who was watching my stream had blonde hair and blue eyes. She said solemnly, "Now, we can only hope that Taichu Divine Lord will act again and save the world. But he doesn't seem to want to do anything. Why did he let them in? 8 soul formation cultivators and they look so terrifying. They seem to be monsters. Does the Taichu Divine Lord want to catch them? Why hasn't he come out yet? Was Senior Taichu injured in the battle with the pre-saints?" People around the world also looked at the screen anxiously and they were all shocked. They only knew it was a battleship from another planet, but they didn't know it was from the ruins of deity. They thought the Beidou invaders had returned. How could they not be worried? Finally, in front of everyone, Many battleships flew to the Taichu Pavilion. At that moment, countless people around the world looked up at the fleet in the sky. 102 ships. Some people counted and their faces became paler. The others were even frightened. Some timid ones even cried. These 100-mile-long battleships were like mountains. They were even more terrifying than aircraft carriers. It was still acceptable to look at them in the vast starry sky, but up close, they were extremely impactful. Even those with a phobia of gigantism would be triggered. With over 100 ships added together, they were like clouds that blotted out the sky. Will Jiang Tian be okay? At that moment, Shen Lu and his wife, Lu Ying, Iris and her sister, Chen Jinming and his wife, and other friends of Jiang Tian were all looking at the screen anxiously. They're surrounded. Why aren't they fighting? In the Yuhua villa in the capital, Zhang Yilin also clenched her fists and stared at the screen anxiously. With the invincibility of your cousin, even the Beidou fleet that roamed the Sea of Stars was blown away. So what if it was just a small wave? Is there a bastion or a city? Zhang Jinghua, who was dressed in a traditional Chinese suit, comforted her softly. However, there was a hint of nervousness in his eyes. Even more people, such as Jiang Tian's factions Yigufeng, the Tang family, the Bai family, and the Tang family, as well as South Korea's Star Moon Lee Jinju and the heroes of the East Sea Sakura Society, were looking in the direction of the Heavenly Clear sect worriedly. There's no need to worry. Confidence was more important than gold. Believe in Tai Chu and gain eternal life. In a certain square, Tang Xiaozi, the world's most famous psychic, Kong Taichu research expert, stood under the bronze statue of Jiang Tian. He clasped his hands together and spoke with a devout expression to the thousands of panicking believers below. The dimensional world has been conquered by absolute beginning. The ruins of immortality have been conquered by absolute beginning. The Big Dipper villain was defeated by absolute beginning. The Sea of Stars is there. Once you see it, you will conquer it. He was wearing a bright yellow robe and had a bald head. He had abstained from sex for more than 10 years, so his face was glowing even more. He was untainted by the secular world, detached from worldly affairs, and had a benevolent countenance. He completely looked like an enlightened monk. Tang Xiaozi had become an expert on Jiang Tian and had published 5 or 6 biographies about Jiang Tian. Each of them was a bestseller and had sold over 100 million copies. He had many fans. By then, he was already on par with Peter Chen, the world's expert on cultivation history. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The wind was howling. The Taichu pavilion floating in the sky was silent. Nobody came out. There were only 100 battleships hovering around, weighing down on everyone's hearts. It felt like a century had passed. The magnificent gate made of space treasure metal slowly opened under everyone's nervous gaze. A laid-back young man walked out of the crowd. He was dressed in casual clothes and was dressed like a mundane person. His handsome face had a faint smile on it. Billions of people around the world were looking at him. Jiang Tian looked at the battleships and said, "What's the meaning of this? Do you want to show off your artifact making?" Then, something that shocked the world happened. Many soul formation cultivators and nascent soul heavenly lords, led by Yun Zhongzi, flew to the sky and knelt before Jiang Tianjia respectfully. They said in a trembling voice, "Greetings, divine generals and subjects of the new heavenly court of the ruins of immortality, His Majesty Tai Chu. May your Majesty's magic power continue to extend, your lifespan will be 10,000 years, and your immortal fortune will last forever." At that moment, the entire earth went silent. Everyone couldn't believe it. After Jiang Tian returned, he didn't hide anything from the ruins of immortality. But some people believed it, while others didn't. After all, they hadn't obtained any concrete information about the Southgate 2 Stars galaxy with their current technology. Many people didn't know the strength of the ruins of immortality and the North Star galaxy. This time, everyone was finally sure. Jiang Tian had become the master of the ruins of immortality. Thinking of this, countless people were shocked. He had conquered a galaxy 100 times larger than the solar system alone. The Divine Lord of the Tai Chu is invincible. Many people shouted excitedly. Now, Earth has 8 more divine lords. Even if the grand cultivators from the Star Ocean want to invade, they'll have to think twice. I'll say it again. Believe in the Tai Chu and you'll live forever. Tang Xiaozi waved his arms and shouted. Many people agreed. Zhao Xueqing also walked out and welcomed the arrival of the new Heavenly Court's heroes as the hostess. The spirit chi on Earth is so strong and the Dharma laws are as strong as steel. We'll cultivate for 5 years and become a half-saint. If the 7-star cultivators come again, I'll crush their eyes. Tu Fei yelled after learning about the situation. Yun Zhongzi, Niu Duotian, Yi Chun and Ying Long were also full of confidence. There was coldness in their eyes and their will to fight surged. These descendants of the primordial immortal land were all villains and bandits. Many of them had the bloodline of the demon gods and were used to doing whatever they wanted. They were lawless and had a bandit nature. Even though they knew that the Big Dipper cultivators were very strong, they weren't any weaker. Well, seeing the overlords of the ruins of deity, Jiang Changging, Lian Sheng and the others could only smile wryly. The most powerful one among them was only a nascent soul cultivator, while those from the ruins of deity were all soul formation cultivators and countless nascent soul cultivators. Besides, their blood was special, so they were indeed much more powerful than them. And the arrival of the ruins of deity was only the beginning. A few days later, another bronze, snake-shaped spaceship arrived outside Earth. A beautiful woman in a palace gown walked out with a few disciples. She said that she came from the Ophiuchus galaxy and her name was Shisha. She had traveled across the vast universe and was riding a bronze serpent boat. She had brought many disciples and followers to Earth to learn the scriptures, visit Jiang Taichu, and attend the grand ceremony. Ancestral patriarch, she was very kind and humble. Planet East used to be the most prosperous cultivation planet in the entire abandoned planet region, second only to the 7-star cultivators. Now that it's revived again, there are many golden core cultivators and countless elites. Cultivator Tai Chu has even reached the soul formation level. This old man is full of admiration, so I brought my disciples to the solar system to learn from him. The humans on Earth were extremely shocked. On one hand, they were astonished by how powerful Jiang Tian was and how he was famous in the Star Ocean. Ophiuchus was more than 5 light-years away from the solar system, but they had still heard about Jiang Tian's achievements. On the other hand, the cultivation civilization in the Star Ocean was flourishing. Traveling a few light-years in a month was unbelievable. Jiang Tian didn't refuse anyone. He sent his disciples to welcome them to the Tai Chu Pavilion and had a drink with them. And that was only the beginning. Then, many grand cultivators from the Star Ocean arrived one after another, shocking the world. Chapter 1800. Then, Saint Anpo also led a dozen soul formation and nascent soul cultivators from the Fomalhaut planet region to Earth to attend the ceremony. A day later, soul formation grand cultivators and half-saints from the Gaian planet region, the Dark Mist planet region, the Tianlang planet region, many smaller Tianan planet regions gathered on Earth to worship Jiang Tian. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans and creatures discovered for the first time that the vast and empty space was actually so crowded and bustling. Many star regions that could only be vaguely seen through radio telescopes had, in fact, extremely powerful and prosperous cultivation civilizations. Swish, swish, swish. In the sky, starships and battleships streaked across the sky like streams of light. Some of these starships were over 100 miles long, and even the smallest one was over 1,000 zhang long. They were shaped like willow leaves, tigers and leopards, flood dragons, flying shuttles, and flying saucers. There were many shapes and different powers. Some used crystals, some used space warp drives, and some even created wormholes that could travel 1,000 miles in a blink, which was an eye-opener for people on Earth. Oh my God! The ceremony of the Taichu Divine Lord is so shocking. I heard that the furthest blue wave planet region is 100 light-years away from Earth. It's not far from the Beidou planet region. Someone exclaimed. Yes. I heard that the blue wave planet region used to be the biggest port and station of the Beidou planet region, which was the only way to attack the Star Ocean. But now, even the Blue Wave Planet region has come to congratulate them, which means that the Taichu Divine Lord has already sent his forces to the Beidou Planet region. Someone who was in the know bragged. The depths of the universe are truly dangerous and terrifying. Look at those planets. Every one of them has a lot of divinity transformation stage cultivators and nascent soul stage cultivators. If they sweep across Earth, it will be as easy as cutting grass. We should be in awe of the star ocean and the civilizations. Chen Bide, an expert on the history of cultivation in the world, said on his personal Twitter account after learning about the relevant information. Immediately, many people agreed and reposted it. They also attached pictures of the spaceships, flying ships, and soul formation and divine emperors. Indeed, those soul formation, divine lords and half-saints were too powerful. Each of them had stirred up waves when they entered Earth. Dharma laws shook and abnormal phenomena appeared. In the eyes of ordinary people, they were really like deities, with the power to destroy the world and the stars. So what? Earth, or the solar system in the Southgate Planet region, has the Taichu Divine Lord. No matter how strong they still have to come and worship. Tens of thousands of immortals came with countless cultivation resources. Even the semi-god realm warriors lowered their heads when they saw them. That's the power of the Taichu Divine Lord. I still stand by my words. Believe in Taichu and you will have eternal life. On the other hand, Tang Xiaozi, the research expert of the Taichu Divine Lord, spoke in an arrogant tone. He attached many photos and even videos. In those videos and photos, those divine lords kowtowed to Jiang Tian and offered him countless cultivation treasures, as if they were disciples meeting a majestic master. Even though Saint Anpo was a half-saint whose name shook the star ocean and had a high status and a long lifespan, Jiang Tian's strength made them bow deeply and call him Divine Lord His Majesty. They were extremely humble. Those videos and photos attracted countless support and cheers. Many of Jiang Tian's followers almost went crazy. This is the power of a Divine Lord. I'm afraid that Earth and the deity ground weren't as powerful in the ancient times. If Emperor Sheng, Emperor Zhongli and Emperor Ao knew this, they would be able to rest in peace. When Yun Zhongzi witnessed the grand occasion, he was filled with emotion and tears welled up in his eyes. The Taichu Divine Lord suppressed the star ocean and thousands of deities came. This is unprecedented. The other descendants of the ancient deity land were also in tears. They looked at Jiang Tian, who was chatting with the grand cultivators from other planets, with respect. The ancient sages only wanted to preserve their roots when they started to wander the universe. And yet, Jiang Tian had turned Earth into a cultivation planet, suppressing the Big Dipper and becoming famous in the Tianan planet region. This had already surpassed the ancient sages' goal. As the day of the ceremony approached and the grand cultivators from the star ocean arrived one after another, billions of people on Earth turned into a sea of joy. In order to let everyone on Earth, the Southgate Planet region and other friendly planet regions witness this unprecedented Divine Lord coronation ceremony, the major media and TV stations in the world such as Watch Me Live, Mango TV, BBC and CNN worked together and used the military satellites, aircraft and sound transmission arrays to capture Sidoni's Tianqing School, the Taichu Pavilion and many other sects from 360 degrees, without missing anything. The person doing the live broadcast this time was the most popular streamer of Watch Me Live, Jiang Tian's sister-in-law, Zhao Qianru. Zhao Qianru had already become famous because the battle with the Preqin sect and the battle on the Kunlun Plaza in Jin City after Jiang Tian's return were all broadcasted by her. The other two guests were Chen Bide, a cultivation historian, and Tang Xiaozi, an expert on the Taichu school. Finally, there was another important guest, the famous Saint Anpo. Saint Anpo had lived a long life and was knowledgeable. He was only a bit weaker than Qin Pu and the others in the Tianan planet region. However, he had never seen such a strange technology on Earth. Facing that small lens, even if Saint Anpo's spiritual sense could scan a radius of thousands of miles, he could not understand how a mortal device without the slightest fluctuation of spiritual energy could transmit sound and image to billions of people. "Welcome, Saint Anpo." Zhao Qianru was the first to clap. Nice to meet you, host, audience, and cultivators. I'm honored to be the host of the Divine Lord coronation ceremony of the Taichu Divine Lord. Sage and Poe's sleeves fluttered, his face was rosy, his hair was white, and his face was ruddy. He looked like an old man, and he looked very humble and amiable. However, everyone thinks too highly of me. I'm only a half-saint. Calling me a saint is an exaggeration. Saint Anpo, can you explain to the audience what a Divine Lord is? Zhao Qianru asked with a smile. After the spirit qi was restored, Tianqing School didn't hide anything and publicized a lot of cultivation arts and general knowledge. However, everyone was still confused about the title of a Divine Lord. They certainly knew that Jiang Tian was powerful, much more powerful than normal nascent soul cultivators, but why would he shock the entire Tianan planet region and make all the grand cultivators in 100 light years away go there? The descendants of the deity ground were so excited that they cried. Divine Lord is the title of a soul formation grand cultivator. However, I don't understand why the grand cultivators from the Star Ocean would pay so much attention to a Divine Lord coronation ceremony. Besides, you're a half-saint, a top soul formation cultivator. I'm afraid you're as powerful as the Taichu Divine Lord, right? You are so servile, do you not want this? Qinbide asked. This was for the effect of the show, so it had to be a topic. The Taichu Divine Lord is indeed a nascent soul cultivator, but his nascent soul is extraordinary. It's a divine-grade nascent soul. Saint Anpo smiled and said, "Do you know what a divine-grade nascent soul is? Please tell us." Everyone was intrigued. Chapter 1801. The top nascent soul cultivators and soul formation cultivators in the human world should be at the sacred grade. Saint Anpo smiled and said, "A sacred grade nascent soul cultivator or a soul formation cultivator is enough to defeat all the cultivators of the same level. They can be famous even in the vast central galaxy. Deity grade nascent soul cultivators are very rare. There has only been one deity grade soul formation cultivator in the last 200,000 years in the Tianan planet region. How many deity grade nascent soul cultivators have there been?" Zhao Qianru asked curiously. A deity-grade nascent soul cultivator? The old man went through the records and there should be at least 100 of them in the last 200,000 years. Saint Anpo thought for a while and said, "Then why is there only one deity-grade soul formation cultivator?" Zhao Qianru was even more confused. It's simple. The difference between a deity-grade nascent soul and a sacred-grade nascent soul is greater than the difference between a sacred-grade nascent soul and a mortal. A deity-grade nascent soul cultivator is already the seed of a deity. Everyone was shocked after hearing what Saint Anpo said. Zhao Qianru exclaimed, The difference between a deity-grade nascent soul and a sacred-grade nascent soul was too shocking. Indeed. Saint Anpo smiled and said, "A sacred-grade nascent soul is the peak of the human world, but a deity-grade nascent soul is no longer in the human world. The two of them belong to a completely different level of life. Different levels of life require different amounts of energy and nourishment." The old man gave an example. Plants and trees can grow after bathing in the sun, rain, and dew and absorbing nutrients from the soil. Sheep can't eat soil or absorb sunlight, they can only eat grass and leaves. As for tigers and lions, they can only eat sheep. They can't even eat leaves and grass. Not to mention soil and sunlight. A deity-grade nascent soul cultivator is very powerful, but it also requires a higher level of energy. Once the Yuan Qi and Great Tao become too weak, the immortal grade, 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 immortal, then, Grand Primordium's divine grade nascent soul and immortal grade nascent soul. Which one is better? Zhao Qianru asked curiously. A deity grade one is stronger. Saint Anpo said excitedly, deity grade nascent soul cultivators are rare in the Tianan planet region, but there have been hundreds of them since the ancient times. However, there hasn't been a single divine-grade nascent soul in the past hundreds of thousands of years. Think about it, there are at least tens of thousands of planets like Earth in the little Tianan star field. Billions of living beings are simply innumerable, but in such a long time, not a single one has been born. The strength of a divine nascent soul cultivator, in short, is the same as the child of a natural god. When cultivated to the peak, it is an existence that can split the heavens and split the earth. Even the children of immortals could not compare to him. Compared to the child of an immortal, the difference is like the difference between a mortal and an immortal. After Sage Anpo finished speaking, the entire earth fell silent. They were completely stunned. Even the worlds of the solar system were dead silent. In the end, when the news spread to the Southgate starfield, even the worlds in the deity land were shocked. He was the child of a god who could create a new world. The first divine-grade nascent soul stage cultivator in the history of the little Tianan star field. Indeed, compared to Jiang Tian, who had a divine-grade nascent soul, 9th grade and sacred grade soul formation cultivators were nothing. I told you, believe in Tai Chu and you will have eternal life. The big trickster Tang Xiaozi suddenly said with a smug face. In fact, even in the legendary Central Galaxy, the immortal sacred grounds and the peerless families that have produced void-returning saints rarely have a divine-grade nascent soul cultivator. It's too unreal. Even if a deity-grade nascent soul cultivator did have one, he would immediately be treated as a deity seed and be supported by the power of sacred grounds and planet regions. That's because they have a high chance of becoming a deity. Saint Anpo looked at him approvingly and said with a smile, "Of course, there are also people who say that such a genius will definitely dominate the galaxy in the future, becoming a natural overlord and ruler of the star field. If so, why don't the other forces take the opportunity to kill him?" Right? Zhao Qianru finally reacted. The star ocean is a fierce battle between civilizations. Of course, they have to kill him in the cradle while he's still weak. Some people hate him, but even more grand cultivators value him. Sage Anpo said, "Once such a deity or deity's seed is born, the star ocean will be shaken and many people will support him. It's best to take him in as a disciple. Even if he can't be a disciple, he should still call him brother and support him. If 30% of the people hate him, 70% of the people who support him. Think about it, the people who hate him wouldn't dare to do anything." He frowned and looked confused. And, in fact, once such a genius is born, the entire universe will be affected. More often than not, they could even draw upon the karmic luck of an entire star or star region, becoming an existence similar to the sun of karmic luck or the sun of heaven. With an invisible force, he or she will be undefeatable if he or she is lucky. That's why a deity infant and a divine infant are so precious. We also respect and admire him or her. Speaking of this, he was a bit confused himself. Deity-grade and divine-grade nascent souls did exist, but no one could explain what was going on. However, Jiang Tian, who had been listening to the interview from afar, understood. The so-called providence was an invisible hand from the deity realm in 9 heavens that could affect other people's fate. It was simple. The supreme grand cultivators in 9 heavens were also paying attention to the human world and the cultivation world. In the remote and desolate abandoned star field like the Milky Way, the immortal emperor would visit it every few thousand years or even hundreds of years, let alone the prosperous immortal holy lands in the central galaxy. Once a deity-grade or divine-grade nascent soul was born there, the grand cultivators of the deity realm would keep an eye on it and give it a suitable amount of training to improve its power and refine its mind, but they would also suddenly save it when it was in danger. However, the grand cultivators of the deity realm were elusive. Even if they went to the mortal world or intervened, it was usually done secretly. Even Sage Anpo, who lived in the remote Milky Way, had only sensed a trace of the energy of the grand cultivators in 9 heavens in the past tens of thousands of years, so he didn't talk about it in detail. The deities in 9 heavens, their providence and the opportunity to become a deity were all secrets of the star ocean. Only the top cultivators in the central galaxy knew about them, let alone in the Milky Way. Normal soul formation cultivators barely knew about them. Suddenly, Zhao Qianxian shouted, "Look, the mist around the Taichu pavilion of the Tianqing school is gone. All the Star Ocean Almighties have also been invited. I'm afraid the entire ceremony is about to begin." Suddenly, Zhao Qianru shouted excitedly. "Don't." Then, a loud sound like a bell was heard. The mist around the Taichu pavilion, which was tens of thousands of meters above the arena of the Tianqing school, suddenly disappeared. Treasure light shone resplendently, tens of thousands of rays of auspicious splendor, and clouds rose into the air. Many disciples of the Tianqing school and officials of the new heavenly courts went down the stairs and led the guests from other planets to the platform. Those who could climb the stairs were at least soul formation cultivators, or representatives of a planet or planet region. The Divine Lord coronation ceremony had officially begun. Meanwhile, deep in the universe, which was countless light years away from the Little South Heaven, they were already at the edge of the Milky Way. "HM? She's still here and she even has a cultivation level. My hundreds of thousands of years of planning were worth it. Now I can finally answer to her." An old man in an old azure robe, surrounded by surging deity spirit chi like a bright nebula and surrounded by countless grand daos, stood in the sky. He was extremely deep, ancient and vast, as if there were stars around him. He looked in the direction of the Milky Way and Earth. His eyes were shining like stars, as if they could see through the 3 realms and the 9 levels of hell. There was nothing he couldn't see and nothing he couldn't investigate. He looked down at the vast galaxy as if he were looking at the lines on his palm. He was able to travel 1,000 light years away with a glance and saw Zhao Xueqing, who was smiling with Jiang Tian in the Taichu pavilion. At the next moment, he took a step forward lightly and instantly traversed a distance of 100 light years and thousands upon thousands of vast galaxies. He traversed galaxies as though they were small streams, and he plundered stars as though they were mud balls and pebbles. He directly arrived in the sky above the Big Dipper star region. If Saint Anpo or Qin Pu saw this power, they would have wet their pants immediately. The distance that half-saints like them couldn't travel in their entire lives had been crossed by that old man with a single step. And if Jiang Tian saw that old man, he would probably say with complicated emotions, "Master, I'm sorry. Undying Emperor, long time no see." Chapter 1802. HM? The situation has changed. The spirit chi on Earth has recovered and the Beidou sect has attacked Earth. Has the news about the opportunity of immortal ascension in the graveyard of deities and demons been leaked? The immortal emperor retracted his deep gaze and looked down at the Big Dipper star field below. In an instant, the rise and fall of nations, wars, peace, killings, love and hatred, life and death, countless scenes and thoughts of countless living beings in the vast world below could be seen in one glance. In a blink, he realized that the Beidou sect's attack on Earth and the history of tens of thousands of years had entered his mind. A cold glint flashed across his eyes, like a meteor streaking across the deep sky. He said in a low voice, "We have to get rid of the culprit and all the people who know about it." In the Beidou galaxy, in the Kaiyang planet region, there was a deserted planet called Arctic, which was dozens of times larger than Earth before the spirit chi had recovered. An ice dragon that was 1,000 miles tall was lying in the vast ocean. It looked in the direction of Earth and sneered. "The grand cultivators of the central galaxy are really ruthless. They claim to be righteous, but they're despicable and shameless. In the ancient times, they led the annihilators to invade the deity ground and destroyed the grand cultivators who had a chance to become saints. They forced Emperor Xing, Emperor Shi, Emperor Ao and the others to build the deity trap array and cut off our tentacles several times, turning the Tianan planet region and the entire Milky Way into a land of extinction. The ancient deity ground, the South Gate planet region and the Ophiuchus planet region were even more miserable. They became graveyards of the deities and demons and their cultivation declined. Billions of creatures were suppressed, so they became abandoned planet regions that no one cared about, making it easier for them to set up their deity ascension plan. The ice dragon said softly. Between its mouth and nose, it shot out a white wave of cold air that was hundreds of miles long, instantly freezing the surrounding sea into a glacier. At the moment, thousands of miles around it had been covered by ice and snow. A cold wave that was even more terrifying than the gales in the universe was surging. Even nascent soul cultivators would be frozen to death if they went 10,000 miles around it. Not even soul formation grand cultivators would be able to move forward 1,000 miles. As a matter of fact, the Arctic star was originally a great cultivation planet full of vitality. However, after it became the habitat of the ice hornless dragon, it was affected by the cold air and became a dead planet covered in ice and snow in just a few years. With the mastermind controlling all of this, he thought that his plan was flawless. However, there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. No matter how deep and far their plans are, they will still be discovered. The immortal ascension opportunity that they created for us is the pavilion closest to the water and the pavilion closest to the moonlight, benefiting us. As the ice dragon spoke, it gently stirred its tail. In an instant, the entire planet shook, stirring up gales and waves of ice and snow. If such an expert were to descend on Earth, even if Earth's laws were strengthened, it would still cause tsunamis as high as 100,000 feet. Frigid air currents that reached several dozen degrees below zero would sweep across half of Earth. Annihilating a country or city would be a piece of cake. Ancestor, Qin Pu and the others have already perished. The exiled deity Hall, the Feiyang sect and the Wuji sect have suffered heavy losses. I'm afraid that we won't be able to attack again in a short time. Next to the ancestral patriarch, 100-mile hornless dragon rose to the sky and spoke in human language. Han Fei, we've been sleeping for too long to wait for the immortal ascension opportunity. Since Kong Teichu has activated it ahead of time, we can't just sit back and watch an ant like him reap what we sow. The ancestral hornless dragon's face was filled with anger. It grunted and slapped with its dragon claw. With a clank, the surface of the planet was surging with waves and the earth shook violently. A crater with a radius of tens of thousands of miles collapsed. The seawater and glaciers were swept away by the power of the dragon claw, revealing the trenches and ridges at the bottom of the sea. The ancestral hornless dragon said coldly. The South Gate, the Ophiuchus, the Fomalhaut Galaxy, and even the 2 stars in the Big Dipper are buried with the bodies of ancient deities and fiends. The spirit chi of the stars and the spirit chi of the deities and fiends have been filtered by the galaxy array and infused into Earth. The immortal ascension opportunity on Earth wasn't created by just Earth. Of course, we're part of it. However, that planet is restricted by the Grand Sages and I can't go in. His demonic vertical pupils flickered with cold light, incomparably deep and resentful. However, that planet is locked by an array and we can't go in. But since Kong Teichu claimed to have formed a divine-grade nascent soul, he'll feel the restriction of the solar system and the entire Tianan planet region. He can't make ends meet. One day, he'll come out and spy on the star ocean. Then, it'll be time for us to take revenge. By then, I'll kill him. The immortal ascension opportunity still belongs to the Beihan sect. We didn't do anything during this time just to make him lower his guard. We're not afraid of him. Ancestral Patriarch, I'll keep an eye on Kong Teichu and Earth. Once Kong Teichu flies out of the range of the galaxy array, I'll kill him immediately. Han Fei chuckled. If someone were to witness this scene, they would probably be shocked and their eyeballs would pop out. The Beihan sect was known as the divine sect of the human race and was known for suppressing monsters. Tens of thousands of years ago, they had fought a fierce battle with the Beidu monsters. However, no one would have thought that the founder of the sect was actually an ice dragon, a genuine great demon of the ancient times. However, most of their descendants had intermarried with humans, and the ice dragon's bloodline had become thinner with each passing day. The only clue that could be found was the cultivation method that the ice dragon specialized in. Hanju, you little worm who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How dare you covet the arrangement of the grand cultivators in heaven? Then an authoritative voice came from the depth of space. In the void, the figure of the immortal emperor flashed. He seemed to be taller than a star, filling up heaven and earth and reaching the limit of one's vision. As his voice came, sound waves shook the world, destroying the laws and the grand Tao. The sun and the moon were upside down and the world was chaotic. In an instant, the entire Big Dipper star region trembled violently. The planets quaked, mountains collapsed, and the earth cracked. All sorts of natural disasters erupted in an instant. Billions of living beings trembled in unease. Some were even turned into dust on the spot. On the ground, blood flowed like rivers, and corpses piled up like mountains. In the end, even the 7 stars, which were several times larger than the sun, deviated from their gravitational orbits like marbles that had been moved by the hands of gods. Even golden core cultivators, nascent soul cultivators and soul formation cultivators couldn't withstand such power, let alone ordinary people. The immortal monarch, a giant among the deities of the 9 heavens, was enraged. With a single word, he destroyed dozens of planets with life. The starry sky grand arrays and sect-guarding grand arrays, which were as huge as mountains, collapsed like paper. The cultivators were turned into a bloody mist and meat paste before they could even let out a scream. They did not even know how they died. Their dharma laws and grand Taos collapsed and turned into rays of light. They were dazzling, but they didn't return to the world. Instead, they flowed into the grand Taos around the immortal monarch like rivers flowing into the sea. However, those grand Taos were only slightly condensed, like streams flowing into the sea. It was unremarkable. Only God knew how many living stars the immortal emperor had destroyed and devoured in the mortal world to condense such a powerful cultivation. Chapter 1803. Oh no! A real giant from the star ocean is here. Heaven is going to destroy the Big Dipper sect. On a cultivation planet, dozens of surviving semi-god realm warriors were terrified when they saw the immortal monarch's body that was as bright as a star. They screamed and flew into the sky, trying to win a slim chance of survival. However, they couldn't move an inch under the pressure of the deity in heaven. Even if they could fly 100,000 miles, they were like ants flapping their wings in front of the undying monarch, who was infinitely vast and capable of supporting the sky. The distance they could fly was negligible, and they couldn't get rid of the restraint of the Great Tao at all. Under the suppression of the Great Tao that suddenly increased by 10 or even 100 times, those divinity transformation cultivators and some half-saints who were even more powerful than Qin Pu, who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years and could be called living fossils, were directly shattered in the world. Even the sacred weapons and Tao artifacts that they used to protect their sects were reduced to liquid and ashes. Senior, please spare my life. I was wrong. From now on, I'll never covet Earth again. I can even help you protect this world. Han Ke, ancestral patriarch of the ice dragons, was trembling under the pressure of the undying monarch. He curled up on the cold planet like an obedient worm and kowtowed to beg for mercy. Although he was arrogant, it depended on who he was dealing with. He wasn't afraid even when facing Jiang Tian, who was a divine-grade nascent soul cultivator. After all, although Jiang Tian had a bright future and his power was limitless, his level was still low and he was still weak. With Han Ke's strength as an ordinary return to Void Stage Saint, he would have no problem dominating the Big Dipper star zone or even the Little Tianan star zone. However, he would be nothing in the central galaxy, where there were even more powerful giants, great sages, ancient sages, Tao reunion perfected immortals, and even tribulation-passing cultivators. However, he was facing a real deity in heaven right then. Any ordinary deity would be invincible in this universe once they went to the mortal world. Besides, the undying monarch was one of the giants in the deity realm. They were not on the same level at all. The difference between ancestral patriarch of the ice dragons and the undying monarch was like the difference between an ant and a human. But what was the use of begging? In the eyes of an existence like the immortal emperor, he was just an ant. It was difficult for him to cause the slightest ripple in his heart. The immortal emperor used the sea of stars as his bathtub and the stars as his pillow. He traveled through the sea of stars as if he were walking on flat ground. Crossing star regions was like a trickling stream, and the civilization with a history of millions of years was like a fleeting cloud. He had a heart of stone and was emotionless like the Great Tao. After all, he had already glimpsed the truth of the heavenly Tao, and what he pursued was the secret of eternal existence. Too late. The undying emperor made his move expressionlessly. This was his first real attack. With just a flick of his finger, clang, the entire frigid planet exploded in space like a smashed watermelon. Pieces of vast continents and glaciers flew out of the gravitational field and scattered in space like meteors. Blood gushed into the sky and broken bones flew everywhere. Han Ke was instantly shattered into countless pieces. Under the suppression of this kind of deity might, even the deity entrusted to the void collapsed in an instant. Then, because of the chaotic whole, the whole planet collapsed again. The fragments of the continents that had just flown out were sucked into it and torn into countless pieces. In the end, it turned into chaos. As for Han Fei, who was a half-saint, he was even more vulnerable. As soon as he flicked his finger, when only 1% of the heavenly might descended, he was turned into a bloody pulp. Down below, in the distance, stars were shaking. Countless figures were running around, kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy. They were wailing, and dragging their children with them. This was a tragedy in the human world. It was the end of the world. The immortal emperor turned around and came to the center of the Mizar star region. Without saying a word, he threw out a palm. Clang! The vast Mizar star exploded in the sky like fireworks under the giant palm. In the earth-shattering sound, fiery light that was hundreds of millions of kilometers long flowed past him and turned into giant waves of energy that swept in all directions, instantly drowning dozens of planets around him. All living beings wailed and the star region trembled. At this moment, the Mizar star turned into a sea of flames that expanded by tens of thousands of times. It swept across the entire Mizar star field, and the incomparably high temperature burned the mountains and boiled the seas. The planets instantly turned into translucent fireballs, as if they were made of flowing magma. A red liquid tail that was millions of miles long was dragged out in the air. This was a world-destroying disaster. This was the power of a high-tier civilization, and all living beings, regardless of whether they were mortals, plants, beasts, cultivators, mighty figures, or even returned to void stage saints, had no chance of escaping from this power. The freezing North sect, the Boundless sect, the Snow God Palace and other sects were all destroyed. In just 10 minutes, the civilization of the Mizar star region, which had a history of millions of years, was annihilated. The number of creatures that died was in the billions. And this was only the first note of the prelude to the great movement. The immortal emperor was still not done. He and the giants behind him had painstakingly set up this ancient plan. How could it be destroyed by a few ants? Then, he took the 9 steps and attacked 6 times in a row. In the depths of the universe, planets exploded one after another, flickering with the light of destruction. Mizar, Alcade, Tianxian, Finji, Fuhuan, Yuheng. The immortal emperor attacked 6 times. 6 planets were annihilated. Every note was the last sound of a planet. Every piece of music was the collective wail of countless behemoths. In the music, the occasional bass note was the annihilation of a star system. The continuous string note was the strange sound of the Dyson structure being plucked. The destruction of this star region and billions of creatures formed the prelude to the sound of nature in Hongmeng. At that moment, the Big Dipper star region turned into a chaotic sea of fire. The flames of the 7 planets were like bright lamps in the deep sea of the universe. They were about to run out of oil and were trying their best to emit their last energy, their last light and heat, announcing to the universe that their civilization had once existed. It was also announcing their passing and annihilation at this moment. At this time, the flames of the planets had not completely engulfed them. There were still some space fortresses and majestic cities flying out of the sky, looking for a place to stay. But the immortal emperor was too lazy to look. He shook his sleeves and used the power of the Great Path to instantly seal the entire star region. Then, he flew toward the depths of the Little Tianan star region, in the direction of the solar system. And Earth was still unaware of all this. If a radio telescope was used to capture the light and shadow, it would take another 100 years to observe the annihilation of the Big Dipper. Even if a grand cultivator in the star ocean fortunately observed it and sent a message through a super-large communication array, it would take at least a month to reach Earth at the earliest. On Earth, the Divine Lord coronation ceremony was still going on. As the Taichu Heavenly Pavilion opened, many guests and cultivators from other planets arrived. This extremely vast and unprecedented Divine Lord coronation ceremony had officially begun. This time, there were dozens of Divine Transformation Realm cultivators gathered at the Tianqing sect. There were even a few half-saints. Every soul formation cultivator controlled dozens or even hundreds of planets with life. They came to congratulate Jiang Tian and Earth on behalf of the living beings on those planets. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that thousands of planets had come. Chapter 1804. The three soul formation ancestral patriarchs of the ancient rock planet were all there, watching in shock. This is unprecedented. How many years has it been since the Tianan planet region, the third spiral arm of the Milky Way, had such a grand occasion? I've never seen so many soul formation and divine lords gathered together. This hasn't happened since ancestral patriarch Han Ke left the world. The second divine lord, who was wearing an old robe, looked around and lamented. I heard that 20 years ago, the deity-grade soul formation cultivator from the Yuheng planet region, Bai Jianjin, was taken away by the grand cultivators of the central galaxy. That's why there was such a grand occasion. The third divine lord exclaimed. Then his face suddenly became serious and he said worriedly, although the Alioth planet area is far away from the Alcade planet area and the Mizar planet area, I heard that Bai Jianjin and the ancestral patriarch of the freezing north sect, Han Ke, had a close relationship. Do you think the Beihan sect will ask for help from Bai Jianjin? If he helps, Kongdi. Shut up, third divine lord. The words, weak, were still in his mouth when he was abruptly interrupted by the first ancestor with an aged face. The first ancestor was wearing a red robe and looked happy. His white hair was sparse, but his face, which was as hard as stone and iron, was extremely cold. He shouted angrily, he yelled, "Do you want to die? This is Kong Teichu's base in the Taichu Heavenly Pavilion, the top of Tianqing School. However, you're reckless enough to mention Bai Jianjin from the Northern Dipper family and talk bad about Jiang Taichu. Do you want our ancient rock star to be wiped out by Jiang Taichu in one day?" The third ancestral patriarch was upset. He explained that he was only talking with his immortal will and others couldn't hear him. But he was also a bit shocked. Jiang Tian was unpredictable. He had killed 4 half-saints in a row as a nascent soul cultivator and the entire star ocean was shaking. Other people might not be able to hear him, but they might not be able to escape from Kong Teichu's immortal will. Thus, after saying a few words, he shut his mouth and did not say anything else. Let's not mention Bai Jianjin again. Even if he receives the news that we need help and wants to rush back, it will take decades. At least for this period of time, we will have to live under Kong Teichu's shadow. The first ancestor also reminded him earnestly. At this time, Jiang Tian really didn't have time to pay attention to their spiritual awareness sound transmissions. He was still thinking about Zhao Xueqing. Hubby, the Divine Lord ceremony is for your coronation. What's going on with me walking to the front stage? Zhao Xueqing blushed. Purely in terms of cultivation, you are the real divine sovereign of the divine transformation realm. I'm the one who doesn't live up to my name. Jiang Tian laughed. He gazed deeply into the sky. His already vast and sharp divine sense had already sensed an extremely powerful celestial core power aura that seemed to be able to overturn the world and split the heavens, and the earth was rapidly descending. He's here. At this moment, he took a deep look at Zhao Xueqing and said, "Let's cherish every moment we have together." The next moment, Jiang Tian shouted in his heart, "God's slaying art." Jiang Tian's eyes dimmed for a while and then brightened again. When he looked at Zhao Xueqing's clone again, his eyes seemed to have a few more tenderness. This was a kind of divine sense art that went against the heavens. It could cut off a piece of memory. From now on, Jiang Tian's memory of Zhao Xueqing's original body was forever cut off and annihilated in the long river of time. It didn't exist in Jiang Tian's sea of consciousness and memory. Only an extremely deep subconscious existed. Unless the two of them met one day and triggered the subconscious, Jiang Tian wouldn't remember Zhao Xueqing's original body. The clone at this time was the original body in Jiang Tian's memory. This couldn't be helped. With the power of the immortal emperor, he could look down on the galaxy as if he was looking at the lines on his palm. His eyes could see through the 3 realms and the 9 underworlds. There was nothing he didn't know and nothing he didn't observe. As long as he met Jiang Tian face to face, the matter of him refining a clone of his original body would immediately be exposed. Jiang Tian would never be able to escape the control of the grand cultivators of the celestial world. He would be a pawn for the rest of his life. All right. I'll reluctantly agree. Zhao Xueqing's clone smiled and walked out hand in hand with Jiang Tian. In the main hall of the Taichu Heavenly Pavilion, the arrival of Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing instantly caused the climax of the entire ceremony. Tens of thousands of salutes were fired in every country and region. The loud sound shook the entire world. Thousands of fighter jets and space battleships flew across the sky and hung banners with congratulatory messages. Around the world, Kuelian warships exploded and the nuclear arrays in outer space exploded. Thunder energy, fire and light waves were like giant fireworks covering the entire world, which the cultivators in the South Gate planet region could see with their naked eyes. Nuclear weapons as firecrackers. Kuelian as fireworks. Only for the divine lord of the Taichu sect. At this moment, billions of creatures on Earth, the South Gate planet region and even further away in the Ophiuchus constellation and the Fomalhaut planet region witnessed this scene through large communication Dharma artifacts and looked at the overlord of the Star Ocean who was about to be conferred the title of Divine Lord. 10 years have passed and he's been through so many fierce battles. Why is he still as young as before? His eyes are still so clear, as if he'll always be that young man. At the audience table, Tang Guizhu's emotions fluctuated and tears came out of his eyes. Jiang Tian wore a black divine robe and had a star crown on his head. His face was sparkling like jade, and he was as handsome as a god. His bearing was extremely dignified. Tang Hongtu, Tang Weimin, Yigufeng Yiziwei, Shen Lu and his wife, Lu Yiting and the others who had been invited to the ceremony were all emotional. Only Shen Lu joked, "A man is still a young man until he dies." "Master's wife, you're still so beautiful." Tang Linglong didn't know why, but she remembered the scene 11 years ago when she became Qin Fan's disciple. She felt sad, happy and sad and tears also rolled down her cheeks. That day, Jiang Tian became the supreme cultivator of Jiangbei and was called Master Kong. Zhao Xueqing was also like today. She held Jiang Tian's hand and stood with her chest out. Her actions were elegant, and her eyes were bright and dazzling. She was like a high and mighty empress, accepting the kowtows of everyone from the Tang family and looking down at everyone. However, in the short span of 11 years, the world had changed. Jiang Tian had already walked out from the small eastern sea and Jiangbei, ascending into the heavens, becoming the master of 2 great star systems. His name shook the large and small heavenly south star field, supreme and unsurpassed. However, Zhao Xueqing was still the only one who accompanied him. The two of them were as firm as a rock, which made people feel envious. This is a divine lord. Feeling Jiang Tian's peerless power, Iris, Zhao Qianru, Li Jinju, Li Huiyan and Han Qingli were all staring at Jiang Tian with complicated emotions. Among these girls, many of them had once developed subtle feelings for Jiang Tian. When they first met Jiang Tian was a martial arts expert and a master of sorcery. But in the end, they still developed a desire to possess him. But now, those feelings were completely severed. He was too far away. Who would have thought that Jiang Tian would one day rule the entire Tianan planet region, become a divine lord and become the top overlord under the universe? They were no longer on the same level. Jiang Tian was a real god, the master of the world. The other people in the audience also felt Jiang Tian's power. They were dumbfounded and in awe. In comparison, the grand cultivators from the Star Ocean in the main hall of the Taichu Pavilion were not only stunned, but also terrified. In their eyes, Jiang Tian's power was like a mountain and an ocean. He was filled with a unique sacred energy, as if he had become one with the entire world. It was as if he were a deity in heaven, the dominator of the universe. Does being a divine lord and being worshipped by everyone really get the support of the world? Just like how deities absorb the power of faith? Even Saint Anpo, who was narrating the ceremony, was stunned. After only a few days, Jiang Tian's energy had become much more profound than before. No matter how powerful the soul formation cultivators were, they couldn't figure it out. And yet, they didn't know that Jiang Tian had been using the art of deceiving the heavens to hide his energy when he met them. If he really used it, they wouldn't even dare to talk to Jiang Tian as an equal. Chapter 1805. The Divine Lord has been born. The ceremony has officially begun. Mrs. Xianxia, the ancestral patriarch who had come all the way from the Ophiuchus constellation, was in charge of hosting the ceremony. Then, many disciples of the Tianqing school went up and bowed. Then, the heroes of the new heavenly courts followed. In the end, even the grand cultivators from the star ocean from other planets knelt. How many years has it been? 100,000 years have passed since the Shang Emperor, Ao Emperor and the other ancient sages died, and we went to the South Gate planet region. Even the deity ground and earth have never enjoyed such glory. Finally, the divine lord of the star ocean is born. The humiliation of being enslaved, suppressed, and sealed for 10,000 years will be washed away today. Yun Zhongzi, Niu Duotian, the Green Dragon King and Tu Fei were so excited that tears ran down their cheeks. The eyes of Bai Muxue, Ao Jiao, Long Shengnen, Qi Liqui, and the other ladies had also turned red. Meanwhile, Fu Heishui scanned his surroundings with a wry expression. Big brother, I've looked around. None of the tribes that have come to pay their respects have the divine bat bloodline. Brother, this is the third time I've checked. None of them. Fu Huairen also looked sad. Are we going to be alone for the rest of our lives? The two of them looked at each other and burst into tears. Soul formation grand cultivators of the new heavenly courts, please stand on my right. Jiang Tian smiled and extended his right hand, asking Yun Zhongzi and the others to stand on the same level as him and accept the ceremony. The cultivators from other planets in the hall were shocked, but they couldn't say anything. That was the glory they deserved. They had followed Jiang Tian to the ruins of deity and gone through countless difficulties. Besides, they had indeed become soul formation cultivators and could be called divine lords. Therefore, under the gazes of the crowd, Yun Zhongzi, Niu Duotian, Tu Fei, and the other bandits tidied up their clothes. Fu Heishui and Fu Heishui wiped their tears and walked onto the high platform excitedly. Together with Jiang Tian and his wife, they accepted the worship of the crowd. Jiang Tian alone was able to defeat the Northern Dipper heavenly talents and kill 4 half-saints in a row, not to mention that he had the support of many soul formation stage cultivators in the new heavenly court. Especially when Jiang Tian was still so young. He was only in his 30s. If he could reach the soul formation level, he would be able to live for another 100,000 years. Many extraterrestrial mighty figures came to a realization. They, their sons, grandsons, and even their descendants would have to live under the rule of Jiang Tian, the Tianqing school, and the new heavenly court for countless years to come. Don't mess with him, don't mess with him. He didn't expect the ancient heavenly court to have so many semi-god realm warriors. There are 7 or 8 of them. Moreover, they all have demonic beast bloodlines, and they are even very close to divine beasts. Their deities are extremely vast, and they can trigger the great Tao of natural laws. I didn't expect this small deity ground to be a place of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. The divine lords of the Ophiuchus constellation, the Fomalhaut planet region and the ancient rock planet glanced at the soul formation grand cultivators of the new heavenly courts and exclaimed with fear in their eyes. Some nascent soul cultivators were even trembling in fear. At the last moment, when he was about to be crowned as a divine lord, ancestral patriarch Xianxia also glanced at the crowd according to the ceremony in the Star Ocean and asked with a smile, Does anyone have any objections to Cultivator Tai Chu being crowned as a divine lord? She had thought it was just a matter of procedure. Yun Zhongzi, Niu Duotian and the 100 soul formation cultivators in the hall all thought so. After all, Jiang Tian's name had shaken the entire starry ocean. His influence had already been established, and his might had suppressed the major galaxies. Who would be so blind as to court death and provoke Jiang Tian? Everyone went silent. However, Kong Teichu, your wife is quite talented. This old man wants to take her away. A lazy and casual voice sounded from the entrance of the hall, causing everyone to be shocked. Who is he? Is he crazy? Today is the Divine Lord of the Tai Chu Divine Lord's Divine Lord Coronation Hall, but he wants to take the Divine Lord's wife away. Does he want to die? A cultivator mumbled with a sneer. He's not only provoking Tai Chu Divine Lord, he's also provoking everyone here. Everyone looked up angrily and saw a middle-aged man in an azure outfit approaching with his hands behind his back. That man had gray hair and only a few wrinkles on his handsome face. He seemed to be in his early 40s. However, his eyes were incomparably old. They carried the boundless vicissitudes of time and contained boundless wisdom and philosophy. He simply stood there without using any magic, but he floated in the air. It was as if he was supposed to be standing in the sky. This was the natural order of things. Zhao Xueqing's clone looked at Jiang Tian in confusion and said with her immortal will, "Is he the immortal emperor?" Jiang Tian looked calm. He patted her hand and said, "It's okay." The immortal emperor stared at Zhao Xueqing with greed in his eyes. He clapped his hands and exclaimed, "Good, good, good. You've formed the deity body of the pure Phoenix Lady. You're already a deity-grade soul formation cultivator." Who is he? How dare he look at the wife of Tai Chu Divine Lord? Do he want to die? Xingning slammed the table and said angrily. Ancestral Patriarch Xixia immediately stopped her and said, "He's at least a soul formation cultivator or even higher. Don't be rash." Higher than a soul formation cultivator? Who is he? Xingning felt a chill and was confused. He knew almost all the soul formation ancestral patriarchs in the Tianan planet region. Even though he hadn't seen them in person, he had seen their portraits and descriptions in the records of his sect. But it was the first time he had seen this middle-aged man in an azure outfit. Jiang Tian glanced at everyone and said with his immortal will, "This man is powerful. Don't act rashly." Great Ancestor Xixia stepped forward and bowed. She was not arrogant at all and was very humble. "May I know Senior's name and which sect you are from? Are you also here to attend the ceremony of Tai Chu Divine Emperor? I'm the host of this grand hall, Xixia from Ophiuchus constellation. Please take a seat." The immortal monarch didn't say a word. He just looked at Zhao Xueqing, as if he were admiring the best art in the world. Divine Lord Ceremony? The immortal emperor's lightning-like eyes fell on Jiang Tian, revealing a hint of playfulness as he sighed. It's strange. He's a divine body, divine soul, and divine law, but he's so natural, as if he's the child of an immortal. I'm amazed. He's only a nascent soul cultivator. In terms of fighting capability, I'm afraid he can easily escape from the ice hornless worm. At least, he has the ability to protect his life. Some nascent soul cultivators and normal soul formation cultivators didn't know what was going on. But ancestral patriarchs like Xixia were startled after hearing that. This man called the ancestral patriarch of the Beihan sect, the ice dragon ancestral patriarch of the Kaiyang galaxy and the entire Beidou star system, a small worm. But the third ancestral patriarch of the ancient rock planet didn't buy it. He flew out and yelled, "My friend, if you're here to attend the ceremony, please take a seat immediately. If you don't agree, draw a line. I'm not talented, but I'd like to see what you're capable of." Jiang Tian frowned when he saw this. He hurriedly said, "Senior, please be lenient." Sure enough, the immortal emperor frowned slightly and snorted softly. With a loud bang, the third ancestral patriarch of the ancient rock planet, a peerless overlord who had been a soul formation cultivator for at least 30,000 years, exploded and turned into dust. "Third brother, The other two ancestral patriarchs of the ancient rock planet yelled. They were furious, but more than that, they were terrified. The immortal monarch didn't even move. He was suppressing and killing a god instantly. He was so powerful that they couldn't believe it. He killed a soul formation cultivator as if he were killing ants. How can there be such a powerful person in the world? I'm afraid that even 100 Kong Teichu wouldn't be able to defeat him. Is he a giant in the central galaxy or a deity in heaven? Not only them, even Xianxia and Saint Anpo were terrified. They couldn't help but think of something terrifying, and they felt the power as heavy as a planet. Chapter 1806. The third ancestral patriarch of the ancient rock planet was also a veteran soul formation cultivator. He was not far from becoming a half-saint and was a terrifying existence that could intimidate an entire planet. However, he could not even withstand a flick of the finger in front of this mysterious person. This person's strength was unimaginable. The strength of these people was about the same as the third ancestral patriarch of the ancient rock planet. If they faced the immortal monarch head-on, they would die without a doubt. Senior, you have a good eye for seeing my aptitude. Jiang Tian could only sigh softly. He narrowed his eyes and said calmly, "But it shouldn't be. The cultivation method of the acquired divine body and divine infant is a secret of the nine heavens deity realm and even the divinity realm. You came from a remote planet. How can you control it? Could it be that she has awakened?" The immortal monarch was surprised. "Master, we meet again. You really don't recognize me?" Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "Master?" The immortal monarch trembled. After all, he was a giant of the nine heavens deity realm. When he was shocked, the great path around him roared as if the whole world was about to collapse. Jiang Tian smiled leisurely. "I am a reincarnated person. In my previous life, you were my master. I once ascended to the nine heavens deity realm and even swept through the divinity realm and reached the supreme divine realm of Hongmeng. This old man has seen far too many instances of possession. But I have never heard of such a thing as reversing time and reincarnating." The immortal monarch could not believe it. One had to know that this was the most heaven-defying thing in the world. Even the Daoyuo Dao ancestor could not do it. Even the immortal monarch had no clue at this moment. "Let me see your divine sense memory." The immortal monarch pondered for a while. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and said, "Senior, since you want to see it, I will let you see it. Wouldn't that be too embarrassing for Kong Teichu?" Jiang Tian's eyes turned cold like a gust of cold wind that froze the world. If Jiang Tian had met the immortal monarch in his previous life, he would not have been able to resist at all. However, as the reincarnation of the god of creation of Hongmeng, even the immortal emperor was not qualified to teach him a lesson. After all, Jiang Tian had already surpassed the giants of the celestial world and reached the god of creation stage in his past life. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was surprised and nervous. "Prepare for battle," Yun Zhongzi roared anxiously. Immediately, the cultivators of the new heavenly court and the heavenly clear sect were on high alert. Their killing intent and battle intent soared into the heavens. They naturally knew that the immortal emperor was very strong, but they were even more loyal to Jiang Tian. How could they sit by and watch their master be humiliated? That's right. In the world of cultivation, having one's soul searched and memories searched was a great humiliation. Moreover, it involved the secrets of Jiang Tian's past life. It was a matter of great importance. "Kong Teichu, your face is worthless." The immortal emperor narrowed his eyes, and a murderous light flashed in his eyes. He laughed, took a step forward, and waved his sleeve. A thunder dragon shining with the light of the great path flew out from the bottom of his sleeve. With a loud bang, it turned into a 10-foot long and shot toward Jiang Tian with a terrifying power that could destroy everything. At this time, the thunder dragon that the immortal emperor had released was not very big. It was even far inferior to the law attacks released by Han Ming and the other geniuses. However, everyone's expression changed drastically, and they felt a sense of suffocation. Everyone was keenly aware that the attack of the Thunder Dragon was far beyond a sage's level. It had reached a level that they could not imagine. The terrifying thunder was extremely condensed and almost tangible. It was completely condensed by the great path of the divine thunder of the 9 heavens, like a divine dragon. The immortal emperor did not pry into Jiang Tian's divine sense. Instead, he released a thunder technique, and it was his divine sense that shocked the celestial world. 9 heavens demon destroying true thunder. Senior, watch out. Yun Zhongzi roared again with his divine sense. The new divine generals of the celestial court were so anxious that their eyes were about to crack, and they gritted their teeth. It was a very strange feeling. They were only 100 meters away from the immortal emperor, but this short distance seemed to stretch across the galaxy, and they could not break through. The space around him was completely frozen, like a fly in amber. He couldn't lift his feet, couldn't move his shoulders, and couldn't even move his fingers. The divine sense that the immortal emperor had released froze the space. It was even more powerful than Jiang Tian's sea-calming ice god. They could only watch the 9 heavens demon destroying true thunder strike toward Jiang Tian. In fact, this was also the difference between the giants of the celestial world and the human world. The mighty figures of the human world pursued the vastness and surging of cultivation methods. They wanted to be able to stand upright and pick the stars and the moon with their every move. On the other hand, the celestial world of the 9 heavens had already broken through this realm. They did not want to be vast and luxurious, but pure and condensed. A grain of sand could fill the sea of stars, and a blade of grass could cut the sun, the moon, and the stars. They could turn the world upside down as if a flower was a world, and a blade of grass was a Bodhi. If you really turn around, you should know how to restrain the 9 heavenly thunder. You can definitely protect yourself with your current level of cultivation. If you dare to lie to me, then die. After releasing the thunder art, the immortal emperor stood with his hands behind his back. His face was so calm that there was not a trace of emotion on his face. His eyes were deep and ancient, as if they were the eternal Tao of heaven and earth. Demon destroying true thunder. Those thunderbolts didn't come from this world, but from the deity realm in 9 heavens. They were extremely powerful and could kill a soul formation cultivator or severely injure a half-saint. Even a Tao reunion perfected immortal would have to be cautious when facing them. The disciples of the Hengyu celestial sect had been almost invincible in the central galaxy with this divine sense passed down by the immortal emperor. Countless enemies of the evil sects had been turned into ashes by this attack. Oh my god, this guy is too scary. Even the purple gold true dragon, a purebred divine beast, was trembling in fear. But this time, the black jade Kylan did not mock him for being a coward. Because they realized that the true thunder had taken the shape of a dragon, not because of the immortal emperor, but because there was a true dragon's soul living in it. It was like the array spirit of a large array or the artifact spirit of a divine weapon. Its original body had been killed by the immortal emperor, its flesh and blood had been crushed, and its divine soul had been forcibly suppressed and refined into the divine sense's divine sense. Killing a divine beast, extracting its divine soul, forcibly refining and suppressing it, and then turning it into its own attack. What a terrifying method! It could be said that this true dragon's soul was more terrifying than an ordinary saint's, which was also the most terrifying part of the 9 heavens demon destroying true thunder. The Hengyu celestial sect has many cultivation arts, which are as vast as the sea. They are all very knowledgeable and have the wonders of creation. With the strength of a soul formation cultivator, there are more than 10 cultivation arts that can restrain the 9 heavens true thunder. Jiang Tian's face was still calm. He stood there with his hands behind his back and didn't dodge. The terrifying true lightning dragon was right in front of him. All of a sudden, a huge black hole split open. Starlight filled the surroundings, forming a spirit formation gate. Amidst the true lightning dragon's earth-shattering roar, the spirit formation gate swallowed up the dragon's head in an instant, leaving only the dragon's body behind. Hengyu celestial sect, great chaos art. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold as he shouted. The immortal emperor's face changed. He was already somewhat convinced that Jiang Tian had reincarnated and reversed time. Chapter 1807. The Hengyu celestial sect was focused on the two most powerful great Daos, the supreme secrets of time and space. The great chaos art was one of the Hengyu celestial sect's secrets about space. It was a void return cultivation art that could surpass reality with the void. No matter how powerful the Dharma divine power was, even if it could destroy the world, the Hengyu celestial sect only needed to create a universe chaos hole to connect different dimensions and transfer the attack to another dimension. Even if that world collapsed, it would have nothing to do with the Hengyu celestial sect. He was also safe and sound, without a single injury. In fact, the eternal exile Jiang Tian used when he fought with Zeus for the deity blood arrow orchid in the Sidoni longevity tribe was a simplified version of the great chaos art. At that time, Jiang Tian was only at the peak of qi refinement. Even if it was just a simplified version, he would still be exhausted and spit out blood. But now, he was 10,000 times stronger than before. Even if he used the real universe chaos hole, it was still as easy as pie. But the immortal emperor knew. Even in the central galaxy and the Hengyu celestial sect, this set of divine powers was a top-notch technique that was not passed down to outsiders. Only the 6 personal disciples had a grasp of it. It was impossible for it to be passed down to a remote planet like the Milky Way. The immortal emperor was about to take back the Thunder Dragon. "Master, if you don't believe me, why don't you let me use it to practice?" Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian wasn't done yet. He shouted and attacked for the first time. He pressed his hand down as if it was light. 5 elements immortal sect, 5 elements furnace. The universe chaos hole disappeared. As Jiang Tian pressed his hand down, the 5 elements divine laws of metal, wood, water, fire and earth vibrated and swept out. They formed an ancient cauldron that was more than 10 meters tall. This cauldron had Gingjin as its barrier, green wood as its firewood, and true fire as it burned, turning the ashes into soil. The surrounding clouds were steaming and rosy, and the forces of yin, yang, and 5 elements were transforming each other. A few types of divine laws formed a subtle cycle that grew and multiplied endlessly, as if it was a world of flames that could smelt all things. As soon as the cauldron appeared, it caught the true thunder dragon as if it was trying to catch the moon in the water. Bang, bang. Muffled sounds of struggles and collisions could be heard. The 9 heavens' true lightning was originally extremely yang, firm, indestructible, ferocious, and violent. However, under the burning of the grand Tao furnace of the 5 elements, it still shattered miserably, and it blasted the barrier to the point it trembled and seemed as if it was about to explode. However, it stabilized in the end. Interesting. The immortal emperor narrowed his eyes slightly, his immortal light flickering. In fact, the starry sky great chaotic hole art still had some power left. Not only had Jiang Tian mastered the techniques of the Hengyu immortal sect, but he had also mastered the ultimate techniques of the 5 elements immortal sect. Although he had forcefully simulated it, that was because he had not yet grasped the great Tao. However, in terms of the principles of the cultivation method, he was completely at a loss. If Jiang Tian had really been his disciple in his past life, it would mean that he had not only mastered the Hengyu immortal sect's ultimate technique, but he had also dabbled in the techniques of other immortal sects. At this time, a large part of the true Thunder Dragon had been burned away, leaving only its tail that was constantly slapping the outer wall of the cauldron, making loud rumbling noises. Its hind claws grabbed the edge of the cauldron, making ear-piercing clanging sounds. Sparks flew everywhere as if it was trying to break free. Its terrifying vitality, which was almost indestructible, also shocked everyone. Slaying immortal sect, heaven interception and god trapping. Jiang Tian's expression did not change. He made a second move, his right hand forming a claw, from top to bottom, and grabbed down. Clang. The 5 elements' great Tao furnace shrank and returned to nothingness. The latter half of the true Thunder Dragon's tail was about to fly into the air. It was as if an invisible giant net of laws had been cast down. Streaks of divine laws, which were full of terrifying murderous intent, seemed to be able to destroy Buddhas, slay demons, trap true gods, and cut across all things in the world, intertwined with each other and directly bound the true thunder dragon's tail tightly, and it kept shrinking. Suddenly, a clanging sound of friction rang out. Blood containing thunder splashed, scales fell off, and the thunder dragon's bones broke inch by inch. In the end, it exploded with a bang like a piece of paper. At this point, the demon-slaying true thunder dragon had been completely crushed by Jiang Tian. The secret arts of the three celestial sects, the most powerful divine powers in the universe, were used one after another by Jiang Tian. The whole place was silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. Even ancestral patriarch Xisha and Saint Anpo looked as if it was the first time they had seen Jiang Tian. They had already guessed that the immortal monarch definitely had an extraordinary background. With their means, they did not even have the eyesight and knowledge to understand the true thunder of the deity realm of the immortal world, let alone dodge or break it. In a word, if they faced the true thunder of the ninth heaven, there was no other way but to die. However, such a terrifying divine thunder of the ninth heaven was still destroyed by Jiang Tian in 3 fancy ways. This feeling was like seeing a 3-year-old child on Earth solve Goldbox conjecture with 3 different ideas. It was unbelievable, as if it was a fantasy story. There shouldn't be such a person in the world. The immortal monarch's face, which had been as calm as an ancient well, became serious for the first time. He moved his throat and murmured vaguely, 10,000 Dao immortal sect, 10,000 Dao unification. Jiang Tian's eyes were full of confidence and even a trace of contempt. He raised his hands and gently closed them, as if he was hugging the void. Suddenly, a singularity seemed to form between his fingers and palms. An absolute negative vacuum. The scattered fragments of the true thunder great path in the air flew into it like bright meteors. Endless energy, at the extreme, was compressed into a point that seemed to be extremely nothingness, but also extremely heavy. At this point, yin and yang were indistinguishable. All things returned to the origin, the initial singularity. The small singularity contained a terrible explosive power, as if it could instantly turn into chaos, create all things, and blow up the entire Milky Way. In fact, Jiang Tian's idea of creating the chaotic divine body was based on the 10,000 Dao unification, of the 10,000 Dao immortal sect, and all the cultivation theories of the 9 major celestial sects. Returning to the origin was to absorb and devour, while chaos was to release and expand. Between tension and relaxation, it was like a simulation of the Big Bang, forming an attack, showing the power of the primordial demon god when he created the world. Teacher, thank you for meeting me again. Give me a big gift. Jiang Tian chuckled. He swallowed the true thunder of the ninth heaven and integrated it into the divine nascent soul. Suddenly, the thunder divine law seemed to be several times more condensed than before. It was dazzling and blazing, far more than the other divine laws. It seemed to be showing signs of perfection. Thus, many of the most powerful cultivation methods of the celestial sects have been mastered through a comprehensive study. It's pure and natural, and it's unique. It's shining with 10 times or 100 times the combat power of a single cultivation method. Wonderful, wonderful. The immortal emperor praised, but a mischievous smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said softly, "That's right." He whispered, "But it's not over yet." It's not over yet? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. The true thunder of the ninth heaven had been destroyed and swallowed by Jiang Tian. Why was it not over yet? And look at his smug expression. It seemed that the next attack was the most terrifying. Chapter 1808. Bastard, you actually dared to destroy my true lightning body. I'll cut you into pieces. At this time, with a loud roar that shook the sky, a terrifying true dragon divine soul that was about 1,000 feet long suddenly appeared out of thin air. On the dragon's head, there was also a ferocious and resentful expression that looked like a human. Extremely terrifying. Once the true dragon divine soul appeared, everyone felt as if they were facing an ancient deity. It was so powerful and its energy was much more powerful than that of a saint. It was like a god had risen, and it shook the entire starry sky. Its might shook the laws and grand Daos, and it seemed to be able to devour the myriad of worlds and make the myriad of people kneel on the ground. So terrifying. Is that the true dragon soul? Even the heavenly generals of the new heavenly courts, ancestral patriarch Xixia, Saint Ampo and many other grand cultivators from the star ocean felt their divine souls and minds being suppressed. For example, Fu Heishui, Tu Fei and the others fell to their knees. They couldn't control themselves at all. The human world, the deity realm and the divine realm. Those were three completely different dimensions. Strictly speaking, they were three levels of energy. From low to high, the most powerful laws of the divine realm could kill normal nascent soul cultivators and easily crush sacred laws and deity laws, not to mention the most ordinary dharma laws. So, even a normal rabbit born in the divine realm could have the power of a soul formation grand cultivator. True dragons were divine beasts, the most powerful creatures in the divine realm. They rarely appeared in the deity realm and the human world. An adult divine beast could even fight with the giants of the deity realm and suppress the void-returned saints and Tao reunion perfected immortals in the central galaxy, not to mention the grand cultivators on the remote planets. Especially Tu Fei, Heishui Fu, Yun Zhongzi and the others, who originally had the bloodlines of tiger beasts, divine bats and cranes. The true dragon was the most powerful creature in the universe. In the ancient times, it had once swept across the universe and devoured the universe. Their ancestors had been slaughtered and their blood had dyed the starry sky red. So, that fear had been rooted in their blood and came from the depths of their souls. They couldn't resist it at all. The true dragon's body had already been destroyed and only its divine spirit was left. However, even its divine spirit was extremely terrifying. Its soul power was far more powerful than that of a void-returned saint and was comparable to a Tao reunion perfected immortal. How could they not be afraid? Even Zhao Xueqing's clone, who was at the deity level of the soul formation stage, felt that her divine soul was being suppressed. She was trembling in fear. Teacher, this is the divine soul of a true dragon. If I destroy it, you won't be able to find another one. Jiang Tian's face was extremely calm. He looked at the immortal emperor with a faint smile. That's fine. Give it a try. The undying emperor said calmly. The soul of the true dragon roared angrily, Ignorant brat, how dare you speak such arrogant words? You want to kill me? I'm the soul of the true dragon of the god realm, and I've even killed Tao integration immortals. What's more, you're just a kid. Then it rushed towards Jiang Tian like a bolt of lightning and opened its mouth, trying to swallow Jiang Tian's divine soul. At this moment, everyone felt as if their souls had left their bodies. Even nascent souls and gods, as long as they had fused with their spiritual power, would fly out of their bodies and become food for the true dragon's divine soul. Alas, let's try using the art of the god realm. Jiang Tian heaved a sigh. He gently cast a spell and pointed his finger. A beam of light, which was dark and bright, was immediately shot out. It was mixed with countless true thunderbolts that could destroy everything. It was full of chaos and vitality, but also carried a domineering power that could destroy divine souls. Hongming's god-killing finger. That was a cultivation art that could only be mastered after reaching the god realm. It was no longer a cultivation art of the deity realm. It was supreme and powerful, capable of destroying all divine souls and soul energy. Jiang Tian was barely able to use it with his divine-grade nascent soul cultivator, but it was like a 3-year-old picking up a machine gun and shooting randomly. He could still kill a tiger. Rumble. At that moment, this ray of light annihilated space and even stopped time. Countless mysterious runes were engraved on its surface, revolving around it. Dazzling azure divine lightning appeared out of nowhere, gently striking the true dragon's divine soul like the finger of an ancient god. You want to kill me with this? The true dragon's divine soul sneered. He was in the state of a divine soul at the moment and his dharma power was vast. He could gather the spirit chi of heaven and earth and form an avatar at any time. Even if one avatar was killed, there would be thousands of more. But in the next moment, the light of chaos and lightning intertwined, like gangrene, instantly spread through an undetectable passage to the thousands of avatars of the true dragon's divine soul. The next moment, the foreheads of countless true dragon's divine soul avatars were crushed at the same time. Then they immediately disappeared and died together. Hongming's god-killing finger specialized in destroying divine souls. Even if they were thousands of miles away and the galaxy was in their way, they would still be able to chase after them. If the true dragon's divine soul hadn't used the most overbearing 9 twists of the true dragon to escape to the edge of the solar system and destroy the last connection, his last avatar and divine soul would have died at the same time. Even so, the true dragon's divine soul was severely injured. It flickered between light and darkness, as if it were about to collapse. "Master, this kid is using a cultivation art from the divine realm." His eyes were full of fear and he shouted in panic. His voice shook the world and he trembled. He wanted to turn around and run away. He didn't dare to go forward anymore. It's indeed a cultivation art from the divine realm. It has a hint of the Grand Tao that can split the world and give birth to everything. Seeing this, the immortal monarch was so shocked that he took a step back. If this scene were to spread to the central galaxy or even the 9 heavens deity realm, it would cause a huge uproar and shock the entire galaxy. The immortal monarch, a giant in the deity realm, saw stars as small as bullets, crossed galaxies like a trickle of water, smashed stars with one palm, crushed sages like ants, and defeated perfected immortals like chickens. Such a mighty figure was actually scared by an Earth cultivator in the middle of nowhere Milky Way. This was even more shocking than someone going through a tribulation and becoming an immortal. It could be said that this was something that had never happened in millions of years. But in fact, from the perspective of the immortal monarch, this reaction was not strange at all. The current Jiang Tian carried the memory and experience of his previous life when he dominated the human world, the deity realm, and the divine realm. That was unimaginable wealth and power. It was just like how a millionaire could not underestimate the son of a billionaire who had the right to inherit billions of assets. Although the current Jiang Tian was weak, his knowledge and divine sense were unfathomable. Even if the immortal monarch was 100 or 1,000 times stronger than him, Jiang Tian, with the experience of his previous life, especially in the divine realm, had the advantage of foresight and foresight. It was not impossible for the weak to defeat the strong. "Master, do you believe it now?" Jiang Tian swung his sleeves and stood with his hands behind his back. His face was cold and indifferent. Even in the face of the immortal monarch, he was not weaker. "I believe it." The immortal monarch frowned and finally nodded. Although he had 1,000 questions about the reason for Jiang Tian's reincarnation and rebirth, he had to believe it when the facts were right in front of him. "Master, may I know why you came to Earth?" Jiang Tian nodded slightly and asked knowingly. The immortal monarch no longer had his original arrogance and indifference. Instead, he smiled warmly and said, "Xue Qingxue is very beautiful. She has the rare immortal body of the pure phoenix. This old man wants to bring Xue Qingxue to the Hengyu celestial sect and accept her as my disciple. With your help, she is already a deity-level divine transformation realm cultivator. Her foundation is very solid. In the future, she may be able to become an immortal and step into the deity realm." Hearing this, everyone's expression changed again. Chapter 1809. Take Fairy Xueqing away? She has a chance to become a deity. The deity realm of the 9 heavens. This is a great opportunity. Yeah, an opportunity to become a deity is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So, the so-called opportunity to become a deity on Earth isn't referring to the spirit chi or the universe treasures, but now. Everyone's expressions were different, and their reactions were also different. For a time, they were all using their divine senses to discuss and exchange their opinions. The existence of the deity realm of the 9 heavens was indeed a fact for Jiang Tian. However, it was only a legend for the grand cultivators in a remote planet region like the Milky Way. No one had ever become a deity in history, and they couldn't even confirm the existence of the deity realm of the nine heavens. However, after hearing the conversation between Jiang Tian and the immortal monarch, they were certain that the deity realm of the nine heavens existed. The immortal monarch was able to kill a true dragon, extract its soul, and summon the nine heavenly thunder. What else could he be if not a real deity? Congratulations, Fairy Xueqing. Congratulations, Taichu Divine Lord. You've met your master and have a chance to become a deity. You'll be able to live forever and live as long as the world. Old ancestor Xisha bowed towards Jiang Tian and his wife. As she spoke, her deep demonic vertical pupils also revealed a deep envy and a burning passion. By Zhenjin, the deity-grade nascent soul of the Beidou sect, was taken away by a grand cultivator from the central galaxy. Her master wasn't even a grand cultivator from the nine celestial sects, but only a grand cultivator from a sacred ground. Countless grand cultivators in the little Tianen planet region were envious. The Star Ocean was shocked when the news was spread. The grand send-off ceremony was also a ceremony where thousands of stars came to pay homage. The mighty figures of the endless sea of stars sent generous gifts as a send-off. As for Bai Zhenjin's sect and clan, one of them had ascended to become a Big Dipper powerhouse and was on par with the Ice Drake ancestor, Han Ke. And then, the person who was taking Zhao Xueqing away wasn't a grand cultivator from the central galaxy, but a powerhouse from the deity realm. The opportunity and benefits involved were 1,000 times better than what Bai Zhenjin had encountered. Jiang Tian's expression was neither sad nor happy, and there was no change at all. However, he had already confirmed the guess he had for a long time. Sure enough, when the immortal emperor came to Earth in his previous life, he didn't want to take him away, but Zhao Xueqing. Zhao Xueqing shook her head and refused. Senior Di Zun, my husband, daughter, and relatives are here. This is my homeland. I want to protect this place. Idiot. Seeing this scene, the immortal emperor revealed a somewhat benevolent expression. He shook his head and sighed. You are at the deity-level divinity transformation stage, and your husband, Kong Taichu, is at the divine-level nascent soul stage. Although the spirit qi in this place has recovered, it can only support you to this realm. It will be difficult for you to advance even an inch in thousands of years. He immediately used his divine sense to transmit the scene of him exterminating Big Dipper to everyone. I've already exterminated the Big Dipper galaxy. From now on, I will protect the solar system. No one will dare to offend and trample on it anymore. This can be considered as resolving your worries. Everyone's consciousness immediately saw the images of the 7 stars of the Big Dipper being destroyed. All of them were so shocked that their souls almost left their bodies. Oh God! No wonder he dared to ignore Han Ke, the ancestral patriarch of the ice dragons. He really did exterminate them. This must be the doing of a giant from the deity realm. He destroyed a star and spread fire across the entire galaxy. If he isn't a giant from the deity realm, what is? That's right. Such power is definitely not something I can imagine. So, the legends about becoming a deity and the deity realm are all true. I can die without regrets now that I've seen it today. At this moment, everyone no longer had any doubts. Even the last bit of doubt was gone. Some old soul formation stage cultivators who were determined to become deities trembled with tears running down their cheeks. Seeing that Jiang Tian was still expressionless, Saint Anpo persuaded him with a sincere expression. My friend, maybe you'll be separated from Fairy Xueqing for a few hundred years, but the lifespan of a cultivator is different from that of an ordinary person. Compared to your lifespan of thousands of years, it's just a short moment. Don't lose the big picture because of love. He spoke from the bottom of his heart. If Zhao Xueqing had the immortal monarch as her backer, she would be extremely powerful and famous across the galaxy. She was already talented and had an extraordinary deity bone. If she had the immortal monarch, who had already ascended to the deity realm, as her master, she would have a high chance of becoming a deity. Not only would Jiang Tian and his wife benefit greatly, but the entire planet region would also be completely safe. There would be no more chaos, no more wars, and no more deaths. The entire mini-southern sky star region would end its state of war and form a united star region with Earth and the solar system as the core. But then, everyone in the new heavenly court and Tianqing school suddenly felt something was wrong. Why didn't Jiang Tian say anything? Dignity. Ever since Jiang Tian rose, he had always been unafraid of the changes in the world and his ancestors. He could only be himself and disrespected the deities in the world. Since when was his destiny controlled by someone else? They used to be a family, but you took them away just like that. What a joke. HM? Is Tai Chu going to refuse? If he doesn't, the entire planet will be destroyed once he starts a war with the immortal monarch. Ancestral patriarch Shisha and Saint Anpo's expressions changed drastically. They became nervous and wanted to run away. Sure enough, Jiang Tian said with a half-smile, "Senior, are you sure you want to take my wife away?" Although Zhao Xueqing was also trembling, she still held Jiang Tian's hand tightly and said, "Senior, how can you take someone as your disciple by force? If you force our family to be separated from the galaxy forever, I won't do it even if I have to self-destruct. I'm not taking her away. She doesn't belong here in the first place." The immortal emperor sighed meaningfully and shook his head. Then, he said seriously, "You've protected Xueqing to an unprecedented level with your experience in your past life. I have to repay your kindness. Why don't I take you as my last disciple and teach you cultivation arts? You'll be another pillar of the central galaxy in the future." Take me as your disciple? Hongming's god-killing finger. Do you know that? Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully, but there was a murderous look in his eyes. He had lived 2 lives, and in his previous life, he had cultivated hard for 10,000 years before finally ascending to the position of Hongmeng god. He had gone further than the undying monarch, and his knowledge was broader and deeper than his achievements. Putting aside his cultivation, he had mastered more cultivation arts and divine powers than the immortal monarch. After his rebirth, he had the advantage of foresight. He knew about the deity materials that were about to appear in the central galaxy, the rising deities and even the deity emperors in the human world, and many dirty secrets of the deity realm. This was not something the immortal monarch could compare with. Kong Teichu, don't be ignorant. The immortal monarch's face froze. He then flicked his sleeves and said, "A divine-grade nascent soul is indeed impressive. But I've also killed a lot of nascent soul cultivators and true gods from the deity realm." How terrifying was the anger of the deity realm. Countless dharma laws collapsed in the sky and grand Daos were annihilated. There were black holes, as if the world were about to be destroyed. Many of the soul formation and half-saints present were suppressed to the point that they couldn't even breathe. He's going to rob us? Isn't he a giant of the deity realm? How can you be so unreasonable? Tang Linglong, Sasaki Haisha, Bai Muxue, Long Shengnan, and the other disciples were dumbfounded. Was this the cruel truth of the entire universe? Even if one became a deity, the bigger fist was still the law. Chapter 1810. Do you really think you can scare me off with your immortal divine powers? The immortal monarch calmed down and said calmly, "I have so many divine powers. I'm just afraid that killing you will affect Xueqing's Taoist heart. That's why I'm being lenient. You should know your place. Senior, if you dare to take me away and separate me from my wife, I'll explode myself." Zhao Xueqing's doppelganger also shouted. Her beautiful eyes were filled with murderous intent and endless determination. What a pair of idiots! The immortal monarch's face was filled with anger, as if he was angry at their incompetence and lamented their misfortune. The mortal world, wife, children, and parents are all dreams and illusions. They're just stinky skins. If you have the ability to understand, you should know that the fruit of marriage is nothing in the end. Pink skeletons and handsome skins are all the fetters of the devils. The real immortal cultivators pursue immortality, transcend the world, and live forever. I love these pink skeletons and the fetters of the mortal world. So what? Jiang Tian took a step forward and faced the immortal monarch. He did not show any sign of weakness. We don't want to live forever. We don't ask for an afterlife. We don't care about the past. We only want to live a vigorous life. We don't want to be tied down by you. We don't want to be your pawn. If you control my fate, what's the point of living? You're so stubborn. Don't stop me. I don't mean any harm by taking Fairy Xianxia away. I just want to teach her the great way and bring her to the immortal world. I'll train her with all my heart. The immortal monarch did not wait for Jiang Tian to respond. He grabbed Zhao Xueqing's doppelganger with his palm. Although his palm was ordinary, it filled the world as if it was the hand of an immortal emperor from the 9 heavens. It froze the void within 100 feet of Jiang Tian. Even the primordial qi wind and clouds could not move. It was the power of the immortal world, a supreme forbidden spell. Ancestor Xisha and the others could not even move a finger. They were all shocked. They did not expect such a mighty power to exist in the world. Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows and spat out a word. As soon as this word was spoken, it was instantly like the chaos had exploded, and the universe was born. It was filled with the might to split the heavens and the earth apart and sweep through the myriad of worlds. Inside the spirit embryo, the divine infant glared at the immortal emperor with eyes full of hatred. It raised its head and roared. Jiang Tian activated the primal chaos creation scripture to the extreme. The power of his divine body, divine infant, and divine rule merged into one. Behind him, 9 phantoms of divine rule soared into the sky and turned into chaotic rays of light that bombarded the immortal emperor. The divine infant was made entirely of gold. It was only about 7 to 8 inches in size, but it had 9 orifices. There were eyes on its forehead and navel, making it look like a divine infant that had descended from the 9 heavens. Clang! Jiang Tian's blow had crushed tens of thousands of Dao and shattered the Dharma. Its vast and surging power was enough to blow up an asteroid, but it only bounced the immortal emperor's giant hand 100 meters high and formed a protective shield that covered the hall with a radius of several hundred meters. He couldn't protect more, otherwise the divine rule of the primal chaos wouldn't be condensed enough to withstand the second blow. Within this safe range, ancestral patriarch Xisha, Saint Anpo, and many other grand cultivators from the star ocean suddenly found that they could move their hands and feet again. Why are you so stubborn and struggling, my young friend? Everyone below the deities of the 9 heavens is like an ant floating in the clouds. No matter how strong your divine infant is and how powerful your cultivation is still weak. You can't withstand my second blow. The immortal emperor's expression didn't even change as he spoke casually. But he didn't show any mercy when he attacked. With a backhand slap, it was as if the world had been turned upside down. As the ancient heaven-flipping seal struck, wisps of purple qi suddenly emerged from his body and filled the world. The purple qi of the deity world. It was a kind of spirit qi in the deity world. If used for nourishment, a wisp of it could create a soul formation cultivator. If used for killing, a wisp of it could destroy a star. Purple qi gushed out from the immortal emperor's body like a purple nebula. It was incomparably dazzling, and in the blink of an eye, it merged into his fingers and palms, turning into incomparably condensed crystals. His fingernails shone like purple immortal crystals, and once again he clawed at Yi Qingyu. When he clawed at Chen Fan, terrifying space cracks appeared where his fingers touched. They were extremely deep, like black holes, as if they could even tear the world apart. Kill! Jiang Tian's eyes widened in anger. He roared and patted the sky-devouring demonic gourd at his waist, summoning the myriad stone cauldron. The myriad stone cauldron was filled with chaotic qi, and the primordial aura of everything was flowing. Many grains of galaxy crystal sand on the cauldron sparkled like a star. You can't control my fate. The earthly dragon clone turned into a 10 feet tall man with a dragon head and a human body. He was covered in countless scales and his eyes were demonic. The dark yellow earth divine law lingered around him. He flashed out from behind Jiang Tian and raised one hand. Then, he jumped up like a king carrying a cauldron over his head and smashed at the giant purple qi hand. As for Jiang Tian himself, he maintained the safety shield with a determined look on his face. He looked coldly at the earth-winged dragon and the immortal monarch soaring into the sky to protect Zhao Xueqing and his fellow cultivators. Bang! An earth-shattering sound came from 10,000 meters high in the sky. A crack appeared on the undying monarch's massive palm as it was knocked off course again. The Taichu Heavenly Pavilion, on the other hand, was knocked back several thousand meters. The ground trembled as terrifying fissures hundreds of miles long appeared, just like the Grand Canyon of East Africa. The clouds in the sky above Sidoni within a radius of thousands of miles were swept away. Earth, which was dozens of times larger than before, was shaking violently. The Dharma laws and great Taoists that were dozens of times stronger than before couldn't resist and cracked. At this moment, the mountains crumbled and the earth cracked. Towering mountains that were several thousand feet tall were instantly flattened. Terrifying earthquakes, tsunamis, and hurricanes erupted in an instant. Terrifying huge waves that were several thousand meters tall were set off on the surface of the sea. It was as if the sea had dried up and the rocks had crumbled. One after another, the aircraft carriers were overturned like small dinghies. If it wasn't for the mythological alliance reminding all the inhabitants of Earth to hide in bunkers when the undying sovereign arrived, and these bunkers were designed by Zhang Chenjian and designed by Jiang Tian and the Tianqing sect, which had extremely strong defensive capabilities that were comparable to Tao artifacts, millions of people would have died. Clang. The myriad origin cauldron was shaken until it spun around in disarray. Terrifying cracks appeared on its surface. The undying emperor reached out with his big hand and grabbed it in his hand. Bang! The thick earth-winged dragon clone was sent flying 1,000 miles away. The moment it landed, the earth cracked open and spread out in all directions. Intense crashing sounds rang out incessantly. Mountain after mountain collapsed. The thick earth-winged dragon was struck until it was 3,000 miles deep into the ground before coming to a stop. It's seriously injured. The Grand Primordium's cauldron was also taken. Ancestor Shisha was dumbfounded. Although she was suppressed by the immortal monarch's celestial realm purple chi and the great way of law, her vast divine sense vaguely sensed that the thick earth-winged dragon's skin and flesh were torn open. Grand Primordium, don't fight anymore. Your teacher is too powerful and his cultivation arts are too profound. You're no match for him. Anpo Saint tried his best to persuade him. His body trembled and he was about to cry. It wasn't that he wanted to break down Jiang Tian's will to fight. He truly couldn't understand why Jiang Tian was so stubborn. Why did he refuse? Why did he not hesitate to risk his life to fight? It was clearly an enormous fortuitous encounter, and he should have accepted it readily and been deeply grateful. The heavenly generals of the heavenly court and the disciples of the Tianqing school were speechless and looked extremely serious. Their confidence in Jiang Tian had been shaken. The power of the deity realm in 9 heavens was too terrifying. The distance between Jiang Tian and him was like the difference between a mortal and a cultivator. Return. Jiang Tian's face was as cold as iron and he didn't say a word. The thick earth-winged dragon stomped its feet and pierced through the vast earth. In the blink of an eye, it arrived behind Jiang Tian. Its eyes were filled with rage, and its battle intent was soaring into the heavens. Its dragon blood was boiling. Chapter 1811. Kong Teichu, you should thank me. I was the one who brought this cauldron of creation to the deity ground and gave it to Emperor Zhong. Zhao Xueqing also transferred your luck to you, so it fell into your hands. You would have died if it weren't for this treasure. The immortal monarch chuckled and grabbed the immortal will imprint on the cauldron of creation. He then took it into his hand and played with it. You want me to thank you? Jiang Tian snickered and said, you did leave this treasure behind, but you're the one behind the arrival of planet destruction, aren't you? Indeed. The immortal monarch didn't deny it. He nodded and said without changing his expression. But you can't blame me for that. The deity ground and the ancient earth were places I'd carefully cultivated. I sent this cauldron of creation to the deity ground, hoping that the deity ground would stabilize the 3 worlds. Unfortunately, Emperor Zhongli was useless and the Golden Crow ancient emperor was muddle-headed. Because of the conflict between the West Land, the deity ground and planet destruction, as well as the cleansing in the heavenly court, the deity ground was shattered. He belittled himself and attacked the sun, using it as a broadcast to the void returning and Tao reunion civilizations. It attracted the heavenly fiends from the Beidou planet region, which disrupted my plan. I was too disappointed in them, so I could only send a planet destruction from the deity realm to clean them up. He was a very arrogant person. Even Emperor Zhongli and the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor, who were famous in the Star Ocean in the deity ground, were like 3-year-old children to him. But nobody thought it was inappropriate, because he was too powerful, much more powerful than the ancient virtuous cultivators of the deity ground. Clean them up? Jiang Tian sneered and said, "Do you know how many people died when planet destruction arrived and caused the decline of the heavenly court and the ancient earth? Everything in the world nourishes people, but no one is kind. How can we repay the heavens? So what if I kill them all?" The immortal monarch snickered. "But you were the one who attracted the annihilators, right?" Jiang Tian said in a deep voice. "I've been to the Thunder Lock realm before, and the ancient celestial court's wandering army had encountered the annihilator. The annihilators were the greatest enemies of the god, immortal, and human realms. Even the supreme demons of the demon realm viewed them as mortal enemies. As a giant of the immortal world, why are you colluding with the annihilator? Besides, Shang Emperor Zhongli and Ao Emperor Wuchang had already started to wander in the deity ground. They didn't care about your planet destruction plan. Why do you have to kill them all?" "So what if we kill them all?" The immortal emperor's face was indifferent and emotionless, just like the great Tao of the heavens. Shang Emperor Zhongli, Ao Huang Wuchang, Golden Crow Ancient Emperor, and the others are too useless. In fact, they had already reached the void return stage at that time. They could have crossed the Star Ocean and even entered the central galaxy by themselves. However, they were so attached to the mortal world that they had to create a deity ground to wander around. They pushed the deity ground and the worlds to the South Gate star. You might have already known that the planet destruction plan didn't only involve the solar system. The South Gate, Ophiuchus, Fomalhaut, and other planets were also involved. We hadn't completed our plan back then. There were still some grand cultivators and saints hiding in those planet regions. If they learned about the planet destruction plan from Shang Emperor and the others, they would have understood it in time and escaped through the Star Ocean. Although I can capture them one by one and throw them back into the cage, it will take a lot of effort. So, I might as well give them a galactic anchor and let them kill Shang Emperor Zhongli, Ao Huang Wuchang, and the others. That's good. After 100,000 years, the heavenly South Star area has become a graveyard for immortals and demons. Even the grand cultivators and saints didn't manage to escape. They were nourished by the great Tao and the grand array in the starry sky to nourish Earth. After 100,000 years, the spirit chi of ancient Earth has recovered. There was a lot of information in those few sentences. Everyone's mind almost went blank. They needed to digest it and couldn't come back to themselves for a long time. The graveyard of deities and demons. The world cage. The universe anchor attracted the annihilators. The grand cultivators turned into the great Tao to nourish Earth. According to legends, the heavenly South Planet region used to be very prosperous and had Tao reunion perfected immortals, even though it wasn't as big as the central galaxy. However, it had gradually declined in the last few 100,000 years. Saints were only legends and half-saints were already at the top. At this moment, only the heavenly generals of the ancient heavenly courts were still on the same side as Jiang Tian. The attitude of many cultivators from other planets suddenly changed. The stars dimmed, the grand cultivators died, the saints turned into Tao and the planet regions withered. And yet Earth got all the benefits? It made Kong Teichu and his wife what they are now. But if we have the chance, we should also get a share. We can't let Kong Teichu take all the benefits. A seed of resentment was planted in the hearts of Saint Anpo and ancestral patriarch Shisha, which could grow into a towering tree. Jiang Tian also noticed their changes and sneered in his mind. That was how people were. They feared power but didn't care about virtue. Even old monsters who had cultivated for tens of thousands of years were no exception. In fact, all of this was set up by the immortal Lord and the other giants of the celestial world. What did it have to do with Earth? However, they were afraid of the immortal Lord and didn't dare to offend him. They couldn't wait to worship him. Although Jiang Tian was powerful enough to kill them, they felt that Jiang Tian had a bottom line, unlike the immortal Lord, who could easily crush stars and destroy planets. So, they suddenly had evil thoughts. However, Jiang Tian didn't have time to pay attention to them at the moment. He looked at the immortal Lord and said, "Senior, you've painstakingly turned the heavenly South Planet region into a desolate place. But extinction is for a better longevity. The withered planet regions are for the grand occasion of today's rebirth. Earth is a base that you can't imagine, and that's even more powerful than the gods of Hongmeng. I'm just following orders. I'm just a small screw in the giant wheel of the heavenly path." The immortal Lord sneered and said leisurely, "Kong Teichu, you were a Hongmeng god in your previous life, but you don't know the truth of the great way of heaven and earth. Compared with the great way of heaven and earth, the sea of stars is just a drop in the ocean, and civilization is like a passing cloud. You don't know how virtuous my plan is. You're only concerned about the safety of a small corner of the world. You're too short-sighted. Think about it carefully, think about it again, think about it a lot more. You won't stop me from taking your lover away today. There's nothing to think about. You can't take him away." Jiang Tian shook his head gently. His fighting spirit rose steadily and soared to the sky. "But you're an ant trying to shake a tree. You've exhausted my patience. So what if I kill you? I can erase her memory even if her divine sense is severely damaged. She only remembers that I'm her teacher. She doesn't remember that she once had a loving husband." At this moment, the immortal Lord's patience seemed to have been exhausted. He ignored Zhao Xueqing and flicked the giant purple hand toward Jiang Tian. Chapter 1812. It was a light flick, but it felt heavier than a planet. After flicking his finger, the immortal emperor stared at Jiang Tian with eyes as cold as the coldest glaciers in hell without any emotion. In the eyes of the people on earth, the immortal emperor seemed to be above the 9 heavens, stepping on the sun and the moon like an invincible deity emperor. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, was like Seymour, who had overestimated himself and repeatedly lifted the boulders that the gods had thrown down. He looked heroic, but there was also a trace of helplessness in his actions. It was a tragic scene of life and death. The purple deity chi of the deity world surged and instantly shattered Jiang Tian's chaotic shield. "Break!" Jiang Tian roared. He formed a hand seal and gathered all the divine laws in his body between his fingers. It was as if the chaos had been split apart and yin and yang had been split apart. A chaotic saber light slashed heavily on the finger like a saber cutting through water. Bang! Jiang Tian spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body flew out heavily. Crack, crack. The crisp sound of bones breaking was heard. Jiang Tian's body was shattered and even his spirit embryo was broken. The 9 orifices of his divine infant spurted out blood. The attack didn't slow down and penetrated the Taichu Heavenly Pavilion. The Aramba Heavenly Pavilion was torn to pieces. Many cultivators and mortals either transformed into ferocious tigers, flood dragons, and flying cranes, or used heaven-defying movement techniques to leap up and down like grasshoppers. They stepped on the wreckage and debris as they fled in all directions. "Husband!" Zhao Xueqing cried with tears in her eyes. She stepped into the air and rushed towards Jiang Tian. "My child, he's fine. He's your husband and he's extremely talented. How can I kill him?" With a seemingly benevolent smile, the immortal emperor waved his purple hand and caught Zhao Xueqing at an incredible speed like a bolt of purple lightning from the immortal realm. Then, he said with a smile, "I've restrained the purple aura from the immortal realm. Otherwise, if even a wisp of it leaked out, how could the people in this iron lump survive?" Zhao Xueqing's clone couldn't break free. She ignored him and only looked at Jiang Tian with tears in her eyes. I'm a divine-grade nascent soul cultivator, like the child of a true god. I won't let you take her away, old man. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold. He stepped into the air and flew hundreds of miles away. Suddenly, he took out the absolute heaven sword and slashed at the immortal emperor. The sword light that was like a torrent was completely condensed from the chaotic divine laws. It was dazzling like a ray of light, and it obliterated the laws and shattered the grand Tao. This is the Taichu's most powerful Dharma treasure, the heaven-severing sword. This may be the last hope for fairy Xueqing. At this moment, ancestral patriarch Xisha, Saint Anpo and the other cultivators from other planets were shocked and frightened. That sword was too powerful. It seemed to have the power to cut the galaxy and wipe out the universe. They knew that if they faced it, they would have no chance of escaping. The immortal emperor didn't move. But when the sword aura was 100 feet away from him, it suddenly shattered like a piece of glass hitting steel. It was like a cup falling to the ground and exploding. Whoosh! In that instant, countless streaks of sword light shot out in all directions, piercing through layer after layer of space and turning the area within a radius of several thousand kilometers into a storm of swords. Some cultivators even stood a few thousand miles away, thinking that they were far away from the battlefield and wouldn't be involved. But then, a sword aura flew over and cut his body and golden core into pieces. He was a peak-stage golden core cultivator, but he couldn't even block a broken sword aura. There were more than 10 million of such sword auras. In an instant, dozens of cultivators couldn't dodge in time and died. Seeing this, Zhao Xueqing's face changed. At that moment, the smiles of all the cultivators who saw this froze on their faces. Even ancestral patriarch Xisha was frightened and looked desperate. Saint Anpo smiled wryly and shook his head. No, the gap is too big. He's still a powerhouse of the deity realm. You want to use us as pawns? Even if you don't mean any harm, I, Kong Taichu, won't allow it. My fate will never be manipulated by others. Jiang Tian roared and slashed out with his sword again. The immortal emperor's eyes remained calm, as if he was looking at a lowly ant baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Kong Taichu, do you know that I gave them the heaven-severing sword? Otherwise, how could those people from Zhongli have the ability to use the heavenly art? Suddenly, the undying emperor snorted coldly and moved again. He turned his palm into a fist and raised it up high. Purple energy gushed out and 9 heavenly lightnings surrounded it as he smashed down heavily towards Jiang Tian. The heaven-severing sword shattered into countless pieces and the purple thunderbolts kept running around it. Jiang Tian spat out a mouthful of blood as he was knocked flying. However, he burst out laughing. His body continued to break into pieces. He said in a frenzied and unyielding tone, "Old fart, if you dare to take her away, I'm going to destroy your sect, the Hengyu immortal sect, the 9 heavens, and behead you." Kong Taichu, stop it. It's not that I can't kill you, but I've shown mercy several times. I didn't kill you because Zhao Xueqing's heart of cultivation is flawless. Secondly, I saw that you have a good foundation and it's not easy to cultivate. You're still useful. The immortal emperor's eyes were cold and indifferent. I can spare your life, but destroying the worlds of the solar system and the South Gate planet region is just a matter of command. Do you really want to try? The next moment, the great path of the deity realm was strangled. Suddenly, a terrifying sound that shook the entire sky was heard. That was the last sound of a planet and a world. Everyone saw that there was suddenly a sun in the sky. Its light was blazing and the light of destruction was extremely dazzling. The temperature on the side of the earth that was facing the fire suddenly rose and the trees were scorched and even caught fire. The heavenly world is destroyed. Countless people exclaimed. Such ruthlessness and venom. He destroyed a planet and killed billions of people with a word. How can he be a giant in the deity realm? Especially Lucifer, Yi, Xiaoman and the others who came to watch the ceremony. They were stunned and tears of blood rolled down their cheeks. Many people pounded the ground and cried. The size of the heavenly world was equivalent to Earth before the Spirit Chi revival. After several years of development, It was now very prosperous with a population of 1 billion. But now, all of them had been destroyed and turned into fireballs. But the next moment, everyone was enveloped by a deep sense of fear and felt cold from head to toe. The immortal emperor was able to destroy the Big Dipper planet region in 7 moves with 9 steps. If he wanted to destroy the solar system, he would only need 1 move. The destruction of the heavenly world was just the beginning. Kong Teichu, you are useful, so I won't kill you. But if you dare to continue to pester me, Earth will be next. Its historical mission has been completed. It doesn't matter whether it stays or not. The immortal emperor said coldly. His tone was very calm, as if he was talking about something normal. Are you really going to ignore the heavenly world for your own personal feelings? At this moment, all of the people on Earth and the extraterrestrial cultivators looked at Jiang Tian nervously. Some people were even filled with hatred and shouted crazily, "Is Kong Teichu going to ignore our lives and destroy the solar system to fight the immortal emperor to the death? How selfish! Kong Teichu, why are you so stubborn? Could it be that your so-called freedom and freedom are so important? He took your lover away, not you. Is that so? If you dare to kill him, I'll let the Hengyu celestial sect and all the planets under its jurisdiction, and even your followers in the deity realm of the 9 heavens, and even the deities and Buddhas, die with the people on Earth." There was no joy or sorrow in Jiang Tian's eyes, as if he was hanging high up in the sky. The immortal emperor thought that he could threaten him, but he didn't know that he was the Taichu celestial lord, the god of Hongmeng. How could he be threatened? Even if the sun was destroyed, the earth would be destroyed, and billions of people would be turned into dust. Jiang Tian would not take a step back. Chapter 1813. Tisktith. Before this, I always felt that your temperament was not compatible with your skills. You are like an adult mortal, but you have the innocence of a child. But at this moment, you have some of the demeanor of a reincarnation of a mighty figure. The common people are just ants. Why should you care about their lives? The immortal monarch praised slightly, but he was too lazy to say anything more. He seemed to be waiting for Jiang Tian to come again, and then he would raise his hand to destroy the sun and the earth. Just when the entire earth and even all the worlds in the solar system were in despair. Suddenly, Zhao Xueqing's doppelganger knelt down in front of Jiang Tian and said tearfully, "Jiang Tian, stop. I know you are not weaker than anyone in your life, but stop. Stop." Jiang Tian stood in the void and said in a daze, "You want me to stop?" "Yes, stop." Zhao Xueqing was full of heartache, longing, and struggle, but she still said, "You said that the strong fight for the weak. This is our home, the place that we have always protected. Once, we were willing to die for this home. How can you and I abandon them? I've let you down. I've given in." Originally, the god's self-destruction was her last threat, but she found that under the immortal monarch's vast and surging power of the immortal world, even the smallest factor in her body was controlled, and she could not self-destruct at all. In other words, her last trump card could not be revealed at all. Moreover, Zhao Xueqing's doppelganger thought and consciousness were the same as the original. Although as tough as a rock and not inferior to men, she had the heart of a strong person and dared to draw her sword even in the face of the Big Dipper extraterrestrial enemy. But after all, she was kind and compassionate. She did not want to sit by and watch the immortal monarch destroy the entire homeland and plunge the people into misery and suffering. But, Qinya, once you are taken away by him, you will fall into his trap and will never be able to rise again. You can't escape from the mercy of fate. Jiang Tian's 7 orifices were bleeding, and tears of blood were rolling down his face. However, he was laughing and his laughter was getting louder and louder. He was on the verge of collapse, on the verge of insanity. He was grieving for the heavens and the earth, and his fury and hatred were overflowing. We still have time. We can still fight. We can still defy the heavens and change our fate. We can exchange time for space. We can still break free from this eternal chess game and turn from chess pieces into chess players. Zhao Xueqing revealed a sad smile. She seemed to be comforting and encouraging him. She said softly, "But once Earth is destroyed, even if you are the god of Hongmeng and the Daluo Tao ancestor, you will not be able to reverse time and space. We will regret it for the rest of our lives. Look back, look at your daughter, look at your family." Jiang Tian turned around and saw his daughter, Jiang Beibei, in the depths of Tianqing School. She looked like a porcelain doll carved from jade. She was looking at the sky with tears in her eyes. "Grandma, is Mom going to be taken away? I don't want Mommy to leave. I want to be hugged and kissed by her. Mom is just traveling with this old man. Just like when I went to the ruins of immortality, I will return." Zhang Wanqing comforted her with a teary smile. At that moment, Jiang Tian's will to fight slowly disappeared. He lowered his head and remained silent for a long time. His black hair fell like a waterfall and covered his face, making it impossible to see his expression. However, everyone saw drops of tears that contained God's blood dripping down from his long hair like dazzling gems, drifting in the air. He was crying. At that moment, the divine infant was crying blood, and the connection between heaven and earth was affecting the laws of the world. The people were crying and the earth was mourning. The wind was blowing, the clouds were surging, thunder was exploding and rain was pouring. Countless humans felt heavy and depressed. They didn't know why they were in pain. They beat their chests and sang loudly. Countless monsters roared at the sky, as if they were going to break the earth and tear the sky apart, surpassing the world and ascending to the heavens. Nascent soul cultivators were formed by the laws of the world. Every nascent soul cultivator had imprinted their own laws in the world of stars. When they died, the world would also feel it. It was like the death of the heaven's sun. But many nascent soul cultivators didn't receive such treatment when they died because their cultivation arts were incomplete. But Jiang Tian was a divine-grade nascent soul cultivator. He was like the descendant of a true god. No matter where he went, he would be recognized by heaven and earth. At that moment, there was great sadness and anger in his heart. Zhao Xueqing turned around and knelt on the ground. She said, "Senior, I'm willing to be your disciple and comprehend the laws of the world, but there are a few conditions. Please allow me, Master." "Ah, little girl, you're not stupid. You finally understand." The immortal monarch stood with his hands behind his back. He was overjoyed and laughed. "First, I will only love Kong Techu in my life. No matter how many talents there are in the Central Galaxy and the Hengyu Celestial Sect, I will never change my mind and will never choose another cultivation partner. I hope Master can grant my wish." Zhao Xueqing said firmly. "I promise you. With my protection, no one in the deity realm would dare to bully you, let alone the Central Galaxy." The immortal monarch said without hesitation. His words were full of arrogance and dominance. A day together as husband and wife means endless devotion for the rest of your life. Although I can focus on the path of cultivation and cut off the sorrows with my sword, I still hope that you can give my husband a spaceship of the highest level without any worries so that he will have a chance to cross the sea of stars and travel in the universe to pursue his own path. Zhao Xueqing said again. The immortal monarch's eyes flashed as if he were calculating. He hesitated and said, "As long as you're willing to focus on cultivation and live up to my expectations, I will lend her a helping hand. Finally, Senior, you have to ensure the safety of the Jiang family and our homeland in the Milky Way. The graveyards of the deities and demons are already unstable. You have to ensure the stability of these stars," Zhao Xueqing said. "But that's easy. I can resolve everything with a few pointers. I'll say that the Tianqing school will be the leader of the entire Earth. Earth will be the core of the entire little Tianan galaxy. No one will dare to invade it." The immortal monarch nodded and then asked, "What else? Is there anything else?" "That's all." Zhao Xueqing stood up and retreated behind the immortal monarch. "Kong Techu, cultivate well." The immortal monarch nodded and looked calmly at Jiang Tian. He waved his right hand and a boat flew out from under his sleeve and landed in front of Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian lowered his head and said nothing. No one could see his expression clearly. No one knew what he was thinking. "Don't be discouraged. You will be reunited one day, and you will also kill the Hengyu celestial sect. I'll be waiting for you." Then, the immortal monarch seemed to be comforting, encouraging, and provoking. He waved his hand and the myriad stone cauldron and the sky-crushing sword were as good as new. The cracks disappeared and they flew to Jiang Tian. Only some purple chi and true thunder of the deity world of 9 heavens were left, but their dermic powers were not affected. "Yes, you have to wait." Jiang Tian slowly looked up and said in a low voice. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They saw that Jiang Tian's eyes had turned scarlet because of the congested blood. They were like a demon or a god, containing a frightening fighting spirit, hatred, and anger. The immortal monarch nodded with a half-smile and looked calmly at Jiang Tian. Suddenly he disappeared. The flashing true thunder of the 9th heavens around him and Zhao Xueqing behind him all disappeared into thin air. The dense purple gas dissipated. Zhao Xueqing's doppelganger didn't even have time to look back at Jiang Tian. At this moment, Jiang Tian and his beloved wife were really separated by endless galaxies, billions of light years. One was on this side of the starry sky, the other was on the other side of the starry sky. Even with Jiang Tian's current cultivation, he might not be able to reach this distance even if he flew for 1,000 or even 10,000 years. Even with the boat left behind by the immortal monarch, it would take at least 100 years to reach the Hengyu celestial sect. "Mom!" Jiang Beibei's cries of despair and reluctance rang out behind Jiang Tian. Chapter 1814. Jiang Tian slowly turned around and walked into the depths of Tianqing School, as if he were a zombie whose soul had been taken away. His eyes were scarlet and bloodshot, but he seemed to be in a daze. There were not many fluctuations in his emotions. With every step he took, he coughed up a mouthful of blood. In the end, his clothes were dyed red and he looked like a man made of blood. There were many cracks on his divine body, which was said to be indestructible. The spirit embryo in his body was in a mess and the divine infant shook violently, almost collapsing. Many divine chains came out of the sky and locked onto Jiang Tian, locking the 9 orifices divine infant. There were even terrifying Dharma laws in the world, suppressing the Dharma power in Jiang Tian's body. Meanwhile, Jiang Tian's power kept dropping from the 5th level of the nascent soul level to the 1st level. His nascent soul was even about to collapse. And yet, ancestral patriarch Shisha, Saint Anpo and the other grand cultivators who had come to watch the ceremony looked at him in awe and bowed to show the highest respect. All the other cultivators on earth knelt on the ground and worshipped him. That was the first time Jiang Tian had really lost since he became a cultivator. However, it wasn't shameful for him to be defeated by a giant of the deity realm. Instead, it made people respect him. Nobody else would dare to face a giant of the deity realm, not even the supreme saints of the central galaxy or the Tao reunion perfected immortals. They wouldn't even be able to withstand an attack from the immortal lord and would die instantly. Jiang Tian was only a nascent soul cultivator, but he had withstood several attacks from a giant of the deity realm. Even though the immortal lord didn't really want to kill him, he was still unbelievably powerful. Master, heavenly the arch. Senior. Tang Ling Long by Mu Xue, Long Shengnen, Qi Liqui and Ao Jiao all burst into tears when they saw Jiang Tian stumbling and seriously injured. "Don't worry about me." Jiang Tian raised his hand and stopped them. He said with a trembling voice, "Everyone, let's go to the disaster area." All the disciples of the Tianqing school, the cultivators of the deity land and the cultivators from other planets looked at Jiang Tian with concern, then left for other places around the world. They threw themselves into disaster relief. Jiang Tian walked step by step into the depths of Tianqing School. Jiang Beibei ran over and threw herself into Jiang Tian's arms. She cried, "Daddy, Mommy was snatched away?" "Don't worry." Jiang Tian squatted down and gently stroked her hair. He said softly, "One day, I will bring you across the endless starry sky and stand in front of her again." "Jiang Tian, how do you feel?" The whole family came over to ask about it. Their eyes were filled with concern, and their eyes were filled with tears. I need to go into seclusion for a while. Jiang Tian waved his hand and went into the depths of Tianqing School. Then he fell to the ground. After a long time, Jiang Tian opened his eyes and immediately meditated with his legs crossed. He took out the god fragments and blood mist he had obtained during the battle with the cultivators of the Big Dipper sect. He absorbed them and refined them to restore his power. My divine body is broken, my divine infant is shaken, my spirit embryo is cracked, and my divine laws are suppressed by the laws of heaven. I've been severely injured this time. But the immortal monarch didn't kill me. The deity realm purple chi and the true thunder of the 9 heavens he used can even nourish me. I'll take this opportunity to break them and build them up. I'll break these jars and be completely reborn. Jiang Tian thought to himself. Jiang Tian's divine body, divine infant and divine laws were the most powerful in the universe. There was no room for improvement. However, in Jiang Tian's memory, there was an extremely ethereal and legendary state where the divine body, divine infant and divine laws were completely combined. Once that was achieved, the 3 flowers at one's prominence and the 5 energies at one's origin would be called the ultimate level of the divine infant. Even the children of true gods couldn't compare. Jiang Tian had wanted to merge them before, but he had never achieved it. After all, he had cultivated all 3 powers to the phenomenal success level. It was too risky to cultivate from scratch. If he failed, the loss would be irreversible. Although I've lost a lot of energy and my power has dropped after fighting with the immortal monarch this time, it's a good thing for me. I'll take this opportunity to merge the 3 powers of essence, chi and spirit to lay the most solid foundation for advancing into the soul formation level in the future. Jiang Tian made up his mind. The boat he left behind is a quasi-deity artifact. It can help me cross the sea of stars. No matter what the immortal monarch is up to, Qing'er's power is still too low. I won't be able to meet his requirements for at least 500 years. During this time, Qing'er will be safe. 500 years, it wasn't a long time, but it wasn't short either. For some grand masters in the deity world who sat and watched the changes of the galaxy and the sea, 500 years was just a matter of closing their eyes and taking a nap, stabilizing their realm and refining their dharma spells and divine powers. Some grand cultivators who liked to watch dharma spells from their palms could take 1,000 or even 10,000 years. But for a universe with turbulent times, 500 years was too long. In the 500 years Jiang Tian had been in, the universe had changed magnificently. Many overlords and geniuses had appeared in the central galaxy. One after another, the Tao reunion overlords looked down on the world. Even Jiang Tian, the Taichu celestial lord who had the potential to go through the heavenly tribulation, had appeared. 500 years is enough for me to ascend to the deity world and compete with the immortal monarch. Jiang Tian's eyes were deep and distant. His battle intent was hidden. He looked up at the sky. His gaze seemed to pass through layers of voids, endless arrays, endless galaxies, reaching the central galaxy and billions of planes. It was as if he could see the supreme world shrouded in endless celestial light that suppressed everything. There were some things and some grudges that Jiang Tian still had to settle with some people even after being reborn for 10,000 years. So what if he was above the 9 heavens? It wasn't like he hadn't fought with him before. Just like that, Jiang Tian closed his eyes and supported his broken body, starting to recover his power and even going further. Even though he was suppressed by layers of dharma laws and his body was broken at the moment. However, the mysterious technique that Jiang Tian cultivated was truly too terrifying. Every one of them was the most powerful in the universe. As he inhaled and exhaled, a huge amount of vital qi, laws, great Taos, as well as the treasures, blood essences, and spirits of gods used to fight against the Big Dipper silently gathered like a funnel with Jiang Tian as the center. The spirit qi on earth was rich at the moment. The dharma laws were strengthened and the grand Taos were stable. It was the best place for Jiang Tian to cultivate. The gains from the battle with the Big Dipper were as vast as the sea and couldn't be measured by a car. In the end, even the purple qi and true thunder of the deity world from the immortal monarch were gradually absorbed and refined. Whoosh! The cracks on the surface of Jiang Tian's divine body were quickly healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. His chaotic power, which almost fell out of the nascent soul level, was also slowly and steadily recovering at this moment. Level 1 of the nascent soul level, Level 2, Level 3, Level 3, night fell and a cool breeze came, bringing a hint of coolness. The moonlight shone on Jiang Tian from between the clouds. The sun rose, the sunlight gilding Jiang Tian with a layer of gold. His expression was calm and firm. Even though his Tao robes were tattered, there was a trace of otherworldly aura, as if he was a true immortal of the immortal world, eternally unmoving. The rain fell, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Jiang Tian was still sitting there without moving. He didn't even use his Dharma power to create a shield. He let the rain fall, wetting his hair and clothes almost in the blink of an eye. He was getting close to nature, feeling the world and merging with the grand Taos. Yellow leaves fell and rolled in the air, slowly falling on Jiang Tian's shoulder. Day after day, night after night, wind and rain, Jiang Tian always sat there without moving. He closed his eyes tightly, did not eat or drink, did not care about anything, and cultivated silently like an ascetic monk. He was like a statue or even like a living corpse. Moss grew on his clothes, but his body and aura did not seem to have changed at all. Every 3 months, Tang Linglong and Jiang Beibei would come hand in hand and quietly cut off his crazily long beard and sticky hair for him. They would also wipe his dusty and dirty cheeks. However, he did not dare to mention the matter of bathing and changing clothes to Jiang Tian. As for other mundane matters, he did not even dare to mention them. Occasionally, a disciple would come to the door and look at him with concern, but after kowtowing 3 times and 9 times, they would leave silently, afraid that they would disturb his seclusion. After waiting for 3 years, Jiang Tian finally opened his eyes for the first time. Chapter 1815. After cultivating for 3 years, I've finally refined the energy of the soul formation cultivators and the half-saints of the Beidu sect, as well as the purple qi and true thunder left by the undying arch. Not only have I recovered to the mid-stage nascent soul level, but I've also reached the peak stage of the nascent soul level. Jiang Tian's eyes revealed a trace of depth as he sighed in his heart. For normal people, it was only 3 years. But for Jiang Tian, who had been accelerated by the time acceleration array disk, it was actually equivalent to 30 years. This was the longest period of seclusion since Jiang Tian was reborn, and it was also the period of seclusion with the greatest harvest. Jiang Tian looked at the nascent soul level with sadness and joy in his eyes. The sad thing was that he realized, just like what Saint Anpo had said, the higher level of the nascent soul level required more energy to continue advancing. Even though the essence qi on earth had been restored and the Dharma laws and grand Taos had been strengthened, it wasn't enough to support his future cultivation. Jiang Tian had to go to the star ocean and the central galaxy, so he had to bid farewell to his family and friends. The happy thing was that not only had his power recovered, but it had also improved greatly. His spirit embryo was extremely heavy right then, as if it were made of gold. It was gradually turning into a divine treasure palace. The nascent soul was also extremely strong, like a baby growing into a young man. It wasn't far from becoming a god. Rise! Jiang Tian's eyes became deep, as if he were an ancient god who had created the world. He suddenly yelled. Above his head, the clouds and mist actually condensed into 3 huge flowers that shot straight into the 9 heavens. Of the 3 flowers, one was pitch black like a black hole, one was 5-colored, and one was flickering with golden light. They all took form and rose higher and higher. Every single one of them was 50 kilometers wide, like a huge cloud. This is ancestral patriarch Shisha, Saint Anpo and the heavenly generals of the heavenly courts were dumbfounded after seeing this. Ancestral patriarch Shisha, Saint Anpo and the other cultivators from other planets were allowed to stay on Earth because of their contributions after the battle of the Beidu sect and the arrival of the undying arch. The spirit qi on Earth had recovered further. The essence qi and the Dharma laws on Earth were much denser than 3 years ago. It was prosperous and had become the cultivation's sacred ground of the entire Little Tianen planet region. Countless soul formation grand cultivators and nascent soul cultivators from the star ocean arrived. However, it was different from when the Big Dipper cultivators aggressively besieged Earth and wanted to take over its nest. These cultivators were all very humble and well-behaved. Moreover, they had to register at the Interstellar Immigration Bureau and obtain a temporary residence certificate. They also had to establish meritorious deeds, slay demons and devils, participate in construction, or pass down their skills and preach the Tao. Only after obtaining enough points would they be able to obtain a renewal and achieve long-term residence. 3 flowers at one's prominence. My God, it was rumored that only return to void stage great sages and even Tao integration stage true immortals would be able to manifest this phenomenon. Why would it appear above Tai Chu's head? Could it be that he has reached the void return stage or even the soul formation stage? Ancestor Xianxia's demonic vertical pupils suddenly shrank and her expression changed. No, Grand Primordium is still a nascent soul cultivator, but he's already at the peak of the nascent soul stage. Saint Anpo was so excited that his entire body trembled. According to the ancient records, the 3 flowers at one's prominence doesn't only appear during the void return saints and Tao reunion perfected immortals breakthroughs. It can also appear during the nascent soul and soul formation stage, but it's extremely rare. In essence, the 3 flowers at one's prominence is the ultimate flower formed when the Dharma power, body and divine soul power are gathered to the extreme. It means that Tai Chu's energy has already reached the peak and he can't go any further. He's already at the limit of his current level. The old man has also seen such records before, but he thought it was too illusory. I never thought that Senior Tai Chu would have reached such a level. Another grand cultivator from the Star Ocean said in shock. After the discussion of the grand cultivators from the Star Ocean, everyone finally understood that the 3 flowers at one's prominence were also called the flower of the end and flower of the peak. It meant that the cultivator who formed the flower was already standing at the peak of a level, the top of the mountain, and there was no more path ahead. Cultivators who had stepped into this realm were also known as the strongest. Theoretically speaking, the golden core level was the strongest golden core level, and the nascent soul level was the strongest nascent soul level. However, there were only a few nascent soul cultivators in the entire Tianan planet region or even the entire universe who had formed the 3 flowers. Even if there were, there would only be one. Could be the divine soul, the body or the Dharma power. Even in the central galaxy, there might not be more than a few people like Jiang Tian, who had gathered all 3 flowers at the same time. I've formed the 3 flowers at one's prominence, which means that I've reached the peak of the golden core level. The next step is to form a divine treasure with my spirit embryo and form a god. I can't go any further, Jiang Tian said. Continuing to cultivate right then wouldn't be of much use to Jiang Tian. He would only be able to strengthen his body and refine his Dharma power. He would only be able to increase the quantity, there wouldn't be any change in quality. When cultivators in the universe reach this level, they would either try to break through or create powerful Dharma treasures and divine powers to protect themselves. They would also study all kinds of arrays and make pills. As he spoke, he stood up and the vines on his legs were gently torn apart. With a wave of his hand, he cast out a dust-dispelling talisman. His entire body was clean and flawless. His ragged clothes were torn apart as he changed into a clean robe and slowly walked out. Congratulations, Tai Chu. You formed the 3 flowers at one's prominence and reached the peak stage of the nascent soul level. You're only a step away from the soul formation level. Congratulations to Senior Tai Chu for his profound magic power, long life, and forever shaking the sea of stars. Master! Your Majesty, you're out. When Jiang Tian walked out from the depths of the sect, the new Heavenly Court's heavenly generals, the Heavenly Clear Sect cultivators, and even the extraterrestrial powerhouses bowed deeply and kowtowed 3 times and 9 times. When Tang Linglong and the other female disciples saw that Jiang Tian was in high spirits and had recovered to his original state, they were so moved that they shed tears. Jiang Tian nodded and released his immortal will. It immediately covered half of the earth and many images appeared in his mind. Meanwhile, August 9, 2021 AD. It had been 3 years since Jiang Tian defeated the Big Dipper Coalition army. In these 3 years, earth-shaking changes had taken place on Earth. It could be said that there were new changes every day. Swish, swish. Many flying ships flew across the sky. Those flying ships were dozens of feet long and there were many types of them, such as begonia leaves, tigers and leopards, giant beasts and shuttles. They were also powered by different powers. Most of them were driven by controllable nuclear fusion or the power of talisman arrays. The two different powers of technology and immortal spells were miraculously blended together. 3 years ago, controllable nuclear fusion technology was only limited to the military, but it had already been widely used in the civilian world. In the world, the spirit chi was getting richer and the Dharma laws were denser. It had already reached the level of the Big Dipper planet region, or even higher. Even many old people who weren't suitable for cultivation had started to practice fitness arts at the moment. They practiced in parks, dojos, and suburbs. Their punches were extremely powerful. It was estimated that the average lifespan of a human would reach 200 years. There were even more geniuses on Earth in the past 3 years. Juniors like Tang Linglong, Sasaki Haisha, Shen Mange, and Marshall D. Minyang had all stepped into the mid-stage of nascent soul realm. After counting, there were already several hundred nascent soul realm heavenly monarchs. Besides, there were thousands of nascent soul cultivators and over 100 soul formation cultivators. It was much more prosperous than the Big Dipper planet when it was at its peak. "Dad, you're finally out." Jiang Beibei ran over. She was short and 2 of her front teeth were missing, but she was smiling brightly. She pulled Jiang Tian's sleeve and asked him to hug her. "I have a daughter who has just grown up." Jiang Tian beamed and picked up the little girl. After his cultivation, Jiang Tian spent the next few days with his family. He played chess with his grandpa and traveled with his daughter to relax and enjoy his family. On this day, Jiang Tian looked at Jiang Changing and the rest of his family and said with a smile, "Grandpa, Dad, Mom, for the next few days, I want to walk around and take a look." "Go." Zhang Wanqing's eyes suddenly turned red. She knew that Jiang Tian was probably saying goodbye to his family and friends on Earth. After that, he might go to the Star Ocean and the Central Galaxy to find Zhao Xueqing. Chapter 1816. Knowing that Jiang Tian was going on a trip, Tang Linglong held Jiang Beibei's hand and hurried over. She smiled and said, "Master, you must take Beibei and me with you on this trip." "Never mind. I just want to be alone. You don't have to be involved." Jiang Tian was wearing a simple azure outfit, like an ancient scholar. He chuckled and said, according to the age of this life, Jiang Tian was already in his 30s, but he had lived 2 lives, so he had experienced a lot. Because of the departure of Zhao Xueqing's clone, he had become more gloomy and had a different kind of charm. During your seclusion this time, you've achieved 3 flowers at one's prominence and 5 chi's unification. You've cultivated to the peak of the nascent soul stage and are only 1 step away from the soul formation stage. You've gained a lot. You should be happy, right? Jiang Tian touched Jiang Beibei's head with a gentle look. He walked in the forest with one hand behind his back and the other hand holding Jiang Beibei's hand. He smiled and said, "I'd be lying if I said I wasn't happy. She's the most powerful nascent soul cultivator in the universe. No one in the Central Galaxy, the deity realm and the divine realm can compare to her. More importantly, I'm only 1 step away from reaching the soul formation level and laying a solid foundation." His smile gradually disappeared and his eyes became gloomy again. Tang Linglong held Jiang Beibei's other hand and smiled gently. "Is it because of the arrival of the immortal monarch?" Jiang Tian took a deep breath and said, "The immortal monarch of the immortal monarch world is the immortal monarch. The great powers of the world of immortals have set this up since time immemorial. They used the entire lesser heavenly south as their chessboard, the galaxies as their borders, and the corpses of immortals and demons as their pawns. However, the most important pawn in this game is your masteress. We're entangled in karma, and it's heavier than the chains of the Great Path. I even suspect that there's someone even more powerful behind the scenes, someone like the Buddha Lord or the Tao Ancestor. All these years, I swept through the dimensional world, went on expeditions to the ruins of immortality, fought the Big Dipper, and even faced my previous life's master, the undying sovereign. One after another, they came one after another, pressuring me to the point where I couldn't breathe. Jiang Tian's face showed a hint of sadness and exhaustion. He said bitterly, "In the past decade, I've been blessed with great fortune. Although I've gained a lot, much more than the average soul formation cultivators, the immortal monarch didn't kill me. That means everything is under his control. Let me always have a kind of feeling that I can't break free from the shackles. Everything I've gained has instead become like a wedding dress for someone else. It's beyond my control, like a bubble in a dream that can be lost at any time." When he heard his master bare his heart to him, his eyes were filled with deep affection, regret, and gentleness. In a gentle voice, he said, "The number of Dayan is 50, but 49 are used. One of them is missing from the way of heaven. It's the only way to survive in a desperate situation. Master, you're entangled in karma, and the powerful figures in the immortal world are coveting you. Only by working hard, moving forward firmly, and walking your own path can you grasp this slim chance of survival. This path is very tiring and bitter. But after all, you're the reincarnation of the god of Hongmeng. Your Taoist heart is as firm as a rock. You have great perseverance and divine sense, and you're also determined to die. Your current feelings of exhaustion, emptiness, sadness, and depression are only temporary. You'll definitely be able to walk out of here." She suddenly bowed deeply, her eyes narrowed into beautiful crescents. She smiled mischievously, revealing a rarely seen feminine side, and said, "This disciple was rash. I actually dared to show off my slight skill in front of Master. All of this, Master has crossed bridges in his life, and has walked thousands of times more than I have. He understands it better than I do. Master, you've just finished your closed-door training. What you need is rest, relaxation, and to forget all these troubles for the time being. Once this is over, you'll definitely be able to reinvigorate yourself and regain your fighting spirit." She suddenly pulled out the red blazing bone sword, pointed it at the sky, and shouted, "Look, those gods and Buddhas are using us as pawns and manipulating our lives. Shall we kill them?" Jiang Tian looked at her silently, feeling both amused and warm. It was like a rich man with hundreds of millions of assets suddenly losing $1 million, but he was comforted by a poor friend who was sincere. But Jiang Tian didn't say anything. During his closed-door training, he had thought too much and vaguely understood the true purpose of the immortal emperor's many schemes. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was difficult to escape the fate of being a pawn. At this time, his Taoist heart was lax, and nothing he said would be driven by emotions. His fighting spirit would also be empty and weak. Jiang Tian nodded and said with a smile, "You're right. In fact, there's a recognized rule in the cultivation world of the central galaxy. If you want to become a god, you have to become a mortal first. So, not only do I have to say goodbye to my old friends this time, but I also have to relax my body and mind while saying goodbye. I want to experience the world, understand the heavenly laws, meet old friends, talk about the past, and forget those troubles. This trip may take 3 days, 3 years, or 30 years, until I shake off the burden in my heart, regain my Taoist heart, and have the courage to go straight to the Star Ocean. I know Master won't take me with him when he leaves. That's why I'm asking you to let me accompany him this time," Tang Linglong said with a smile. "That's right," Jiang Tian said frankly. "Your mastress is far away from the Star Ocean and must be worried about me every day. I'll feel guilty if I take you with me." "What do you mean? You're guilty?" Tang Linglong said with a mischievous smile. "Mastress is generous and open-minded. She's never suspicious. I've never had any animosity or resentment towards you because I accompanied you. This guilt of yours is entirely because of yourself. If you don't have any feelings for me, why would you feel guilty? Well, Jiang Tian was stunned. He had been avoiding these women for a long time, but now that he thought about it carefully, he felt that it was more complicated than it could be. He was indeed a simple person when it came to relationships. In his previous life, although he flirted with women everywhere when he was young, it was not true. He was like a naughty child playing around. However, after Zhao Xueqing's death, he regretted it all his life and felt guilty. After he followed his master to the central galaxy, although many fairies and saintesses pursued him, he had never been tempted, let alone become Taoist companions. After his rebirth, he also kept himself clean. He waved his sword to cut off the strands of love and kept a distance from many women. Therefore, although he was good at cultivation, he could not understand the word love. He only knew that he loved Zhao Xueqing deeply. At this time, Tang Linglong's question really stumped him. Fortunately, Tang Linglong had been in seclusion for several years and comprehended the Great Tao. She was also much more clear-headed when it came to relationships. She was indifferent and did not linger. She quickly changed the topic and said with a smile, "Then, Master, let's go." "Okay." Jiang Tian nodded and thought for a while. He clapped and said with a smile, "The East Sea is the place where you and I met. Let's go to Linzhou first." But Tang Linglong nodded and said with a smile, "Just like the ancient sages, I have not entered the house 3 times. In the 3 years since I returned to Earth, I have been to disaster relief everywhere and have never set foot in the East Sea." Huaxia, Linzhou. Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing's old villa was crowded with tourists, and it was bustling with life. Dear passengers, the important scenic spot we are about to arrive at is the former residence of the master of Tianqing School, the leader of the Myth Alliance, the spiritual leader of the Earth Defense Alliance, the great helmsman of the Spirit Qi Revival, the great pioneer of the new era of the Cultivation civilization, the great commander of the anti-Beidou siege, the new master of the heavenly court, the Taichu emperor, the strongest overlord in the Little Tianan Star region, the first Divine Lord, Kong Taichu's former residence in the East Sea. The tour guide holding a red flag seemed to be showing off her skills. She recited a series of titles without hesitation, which made the surrounding tourists applaud and cheer. But we can finally visit the former residence of the Taichu Divine Lord. In the crowd, Jiang Tian was wearing ordinary casual clothes and holding Jiang Beibei's hand. He looked like an ordinary middle-aged man hiding in the city. He looked at them with a smile. Suddenly, his eyes turned red. Chapter 1817. That was the place where he and Zhao Xueqing got married and where his dream began. But now, even the King's Mansion No. 1 on Lion Peak had been renovated and turned into a tourist attraction. The Taichu History Museum was built in Linzhou. Thousands of people came to visit every day. At this time, in the courtyard of the villa, there was a bronze statue of Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing holding hands. In the display window and on the table, there was a display of Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing's life, as well as many battle records. The holographic projection was playing many promotional videos. "Dad, is this where you and Mom lived?" Jiang Beibei looked around curiously and asked. Jiang Tian held her little hand and walked into the living room like an ordinary person, hiding among the tourists. Seeing the things, he thought of her and sighed with emotion. "I'm just a rich kid. I'm as stupid as a cow and as hot-tempered as a tiger. I didn't accomplish anything, but I had a bad temper. But your mom never despised me. I was crazy back then and your mom had to work hard. She had to stay up late every day and take care of me." He stroked the 29-inch TV with a big belly and said with a smile, "But she never complained. She worked hard all the time to make life a little better, even if it was just a little better. Because her father was too poor at the time, she bought the TV outside from a flea market. Technology is developing rapidly now. Holographic projection and VR technology are all used. This kind of old TV can really be considered an antique." Then, a manager walked over and bowed. "Sir, this is a relic. You can't touch it." "Oh, I'm sorry." Jiang Tian smiled and took back his hand. Jiang, no, Taichu Divine Lord, you're here. The administrator's face was full of surprise, as if he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. What? The Taichu Divine Lord is here. Are you serious? Isn't the Taichu Divine Lord in seclusion? Why is he here? This shout startled everyone. For a time, the tourists surrounded Jiang Tian so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. They all bowed to Jiang Tian, their faces filled with admiration. Let me have a look. Jiang Tian cupped his hands and said with a warm expression, sorry to disturb everyone. Not at all. What are you talking about? It's our honor to meet the Taichu Divine Lord. Grand Primordium Divine Lord, take your time. We'll back off. Everyone said hurriedly. Jiang Tian was transcendent and otherworldly. In the eyes of the crowd, he was like a god. In the eyes of the crowd, perhaps giving him some peace was the greatest respect. However, at this time, a beautiful figure walked against the flow of people and quickly walked over. She said excitedly, Jiang Tian, it's you. The woman was in her 30s, but she had maintained herself very well. She looked like a 28-year-old girl, but her pair of clear, beautiful eyes revealed a bit of depth and firmness, which added a bit of a different kind of charm to her. The nameplate on her chest also revealed her identity. She was the curator of the Kong Teichu archive in Linzhou. Lu Yiting? Jiang Tian smiled warmly and said, how did you become a curator? Don't you care about your natural beauty? How did you become a curator? Lu Yiting was wearing a black business suit. Her slender legs were wrapped in thin black stockings and high heels, but she still looked smart and capable. She looked at Jiang Tian excitedly, and her eyes were slightly red. She smiled and said, natural beauty is already dead. Why do you mention this? That? Jiang Tian was slightly stunned. However, he immediately understood. With the recovery of spirit qi and the prosperity of the cultivation civilization, the lifespan of human beings could be doubled. As long as mortals practiced breathing techniques, they would not age. It was normal for natural beauty to be abandoned by the times. To be exact, I took the initiative to close the business. Lu Yiting smiled and said, however, I seem to have been reborn. I talk to Shen Lu and Zheng Li here every day, or tell the tourists about your deeds. I'm very happy. Is this Bebe? She's so cute. She looks exactly like her. Lu Yiting squatted down and hugged Jiang Bebe with a face full of affection. Hello, Aunt Yiting. Jiang Bebe said sweetly. The business you valued the most is dead, but you've been reborn? Interesting. Jiang Tian smiled and seemed to understand something. It's not easy for you to come back. Go and have a look. Lu Yiting suddenly remembered that Zhao Xueqing had been taken away by the immortal monarch for 3 years. She could imagine Jiang Tian's mood. She said with slightly red eyes, don't worry. I've asked people to close the shop. No one will disturb you. She winked at Tang Linglong, and the two quietly left. It was on this sofa that I rewrote the prescription of the muscle-nourishing ointment. Your mother thought that I didn't know anything and was writing nonsense to ruin her plans. She wanted to pinch my ear. Jiang Tian pulled his daughter to sit on the old sofa in the living room. His eyes were full of tenderness as he smiled and said, however, this is not the original sofa. To put it nicely, your mother is thrifty and diligent. To put it bluntly, she is stingy and haggles over every penny. Life was difficult at that time. After your mother and I moved to the King No. 1 villa, she rented this villa to someone else. I guess that family thought the sofa was shabby, so they replaced it. Your Auntie Eating probably found the original photo and found someone to make a similar model. However, the design is exquisite. It's exactly the same. She even made it look old with care. Even the holes made by the cigarette are exactly the same. Dad, you're so annoying. Since it's exactly the same, it's the original. Why do you think so much? Jiang Bebe couldn't sit still. She ran around and suddenly turned back and said, since it's exactly the same, it's the original? The childish and naive words flashed through Jiang Tian's mind like a bolt of lightning, illuminating a corner of the fog. Of course. Since it's exactly the same, of course it's the original. Even if it's not the same, it's still the original. Jiang Beibei said seriously. Dad, I heard Uncle Dahe talk to me about cultivation. Mortals are just mortal bodies. The foundation elixir is the life of true essence. The bodies of nascent soul and soul formation cultivators can be formed by laws. The old monsters of void return can even live in the void and become one with heaven and earth. Dad, you've changed a lot from a mortal to a nascent soul cultivator, but you're still you. Beibei, you're good? You can teach me now. Jiang Tian laughed heartily. With a gratified expression, he said unhurriedly, not only will the objective existence change over a long period of time, but even the consciousness and thoughts will undergo earth-shaking changes. But I can tell you that I'm still your father. You can answer this question. But you may not answer the next question. Let me tell you a funny story. Auntie Linglong read it to me before I went to bed last night. Jiang Beibei put her hands behind her back and said softly, there is a ship called the ship of Theseus, which can sail on the sea for hundreds of years. This is attributed to the fact that it has a lot of spare parts and can be repaired and replaced continuously. As long as a piece of wood rots, it will be replaced, and so on until all the functional parts are no longer the original ones. The question is the ship that was created in the end still the original ship of Theseus, or is it a completely different ship? If it's not the original ship, then at what point is it no longer the original ship? If we use the old parts of the ship of Theseus and directly build a new ship, then which of the two ships is the real ship of Theseus? What an interesting story. That's right. Is it still that ship? Which of the two ships is the real ship of Theseus? Jiang Tian listened with a smile, but his face was as calm as a lake, and his heart was like thunder. Lightning once again shone through the fog. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.